Ready for 500 laps of short track beat and bang? That's what NASCAR on Fox has in store for you this afternoon. A chilly day in South Central Virginia, midway between Roanoke and Greensboro, North Carolina, at Martinsville Speedway. Let's check in on pit road for late breaking stories. Steve Burns.
Well, Mike Joy, Kyle Busch followed up his dramatic California win with his first ever Martinsville pole, hunting for his first ever Martinsville win. Now, even though both practices were rained out yesterday, his team prepared for that by making 4 race trim runs on Friday afternoon. They think they're ready. Matt Yoakum?
Steve Carletter's game plan for 2014 changed with that win at Bristol 2 weeks ago. Crew Chief Jimmy Fitting told me, expect to see this team gamble and experiment from here on out for the next 6 months preparing for the playoffs. He told me he took a big swing at it this morning, changed the setup again, expecting past trends to come to fruition here, but for whatever reason, this racetrack has been really free all weekend. He'll start 8th. Chris Devoda?
Clint Bowyer is very good at this track. He finished runner-up here last year. When I spoke to his crew chief, Brian Patty, this morning and asked, what are your chances? He said, quote, we're pretty excited. Now, he knows that competition caution is coming at lap 40. Like Michael Waltrip said, it's going to be a game changer, and they plan on making any adjustments in the first 200 laps because they know they need track position for the final of the race. And Clint Bowyer said it is time for him to have a clock. Mike Joy?
Thanks, Krista. Let's have a look at the Geico starting grid for today's race. Kyle Busch has his first Martinsville pole. Denny Hamlin, his 5th front row start here. Joe Gibbs Racing owns the front row. Joey Logano's Ford will start 3rd. Jimmy Johnson, 8-time winner here, will start 4th. Jeff Gordon, the track's other 8-time winner, is 5th. Matt Kenseth, 4th straight top 10 start here at Martinsville. Tony Stewart, 3-time winner with Carl Edwards, who's won the last 2 short track contests in NASCAR. Jamie Mack and Danica Patrick, her best career start on a non-restrictor plate track. Greg Biffle, Clint Bowyer, row 6. Row 7, Brian Vickers, and Brad Keselowski, who missed the top 12 for the first time this season. They worked on race runs. We'll look back through the field as Darrell jumps on the radio.
Yeah, let's talk to Matt Kenseth here. Hey, Matt, it's DW. Got a copy, buddy?
Got you, DW.
Matt, we got a green racetrack here. What are your biggest concerns here on the start of this race?
Yeah, I mean, I think the keys are going to be to be patient, keep the tires on the car, and really just keep up with the changing track conditions. So hopefully we can find a hole here, get to the bottom, and get a good look at our tires here on lap 40 on that competition yellow.
Hey, as you said that get to the bottom, did you talk to Jeff Gordon beside you or Tony Stewart about cutting you some slack there to get in?
No, I didn't. I'm pretty sure they want to be in the bottom too, and in front of as many cars as they can be. So I think it's kind of everyman themselves. You know, you'll work hard trying to get a hole if you can get one. If you can't, you just hang in the best you can until you can.
Roger that, buddy. Hey, you ran great here last year. Good luck today.
Thank you, sir.
Matt Kenseth, who will start 6th. We introduce Budweiser Speed Tweets, the new interactive game where fans can compete for a chance to race go-karts with Kevin Harvick. Visit Budweiser.com/speedtweets to register and for official rules. Here's Jeff Hammond.
Mike, you look over my shoulder here. The car goes by. You see that yellow curving? This is what this represents. This is what the curve looks like, about this tall, 6 inches. It's angled up to the top. Hug her gently, and this curve will run you. You disrespect her, hit her, get on top of it, and what's going to happen is she's going to throw you back out of the racetrack, and you're going to have a really terrible day. Look at the early part of this race for everybody to try to hug up close to this curve.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. With yesterday's rain, if a car spins up over that curb and gets its rear wheel stuck in the grass, could high side there and be there a long time. It's chilly. The temperature fighting its way to 50. Track temp 63. There's been just a little bit of sun this morning, but there's a breeze. Steady winds of 10 to 20, and earlier they were predicting gusts of up to 50 miles an hour.
Look at that American flag back there. I mean, that's a huge flag, and look at that thing, how it's waving in the wind. That's how hard the wind's blowing.
We will have a competition caution. It will come at lap 40 because of yesterday's rains, which eliminated practice, along with the Camping World Truck Race that will run after the Cup race today. They'll give them a competition caution.
I find it interesting that the pole sitter has a choice, inside or outside. Kyle Busch, that 18 car, he chose the outside. I don't think the outside will have any grip but I think this may be a little bit of an agreement between he and his teammate, Denny Hamlin.
We always did that here. If it was a teammate or somebody, a buddy, we'd say, hey, dude, cut me a little slack on the start. Let me get down on that inside. That's why I asked Matt if it was any possibility of that happening.
Well, you see Kenseth's yellow car there in 6th. He has Chevrolets inside and in front of him, Gordon and Johnson, and the Ford of Logano just ahead on the inside. Meanwhile, his Toyota teammates own the front row, Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, and here we go.
All right. Ready for 500 laps of short track racing. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, you bunch of hot dogs.
Well, Kyle Busch from the outside won the battle down the straightaway for lap 1, and Jimmy Johnson snuck into 2nd spot. The bump and run goes all the way to the back.
They got a car spun over here, 30 car, and it looked like, I mean, you wouldn't believe how they bottlenecked up going into that corner, Mike.
That poor boy, every time I talk about somebody high-siding, getting stuck up over the curb, Parker Kligerman.
Yeah,
we talk about, gee, hope nobody blows an engine. Parker Kligerman hit the wall.
42 got a lot of that action. There were cars just bamming into each other. It may have been a 30 car. I didn't see how it started, but it got bottlenecked there, and people were just slamming into each other.
It was like a giant accordion squeezing together.
Yes, sir.
As cars that were trying to get into that corner all got piled up, and Parker Kligerman's race doesn't last a lap. Now watch the 42 of Kyle Larson.
Now we're going off into turn 3 here. And up ahead, you'll see a bunch of cars in front of Kyle Larson. The 23, Menard, the 27, the 13, all of them are checking up. With nowhere to go and just started hammering on each other.
All it took was one driver to check up, and it was the accordion for about 5 or 6 drivers deep.
Cold tires, no grip in the racetrack. Everybody was really tippy-toeing down into that corner, and you can see the Parker got the worst end of the deal in the 30 car.
Jeff Hammond was standing right there.
And guys, the thing is, everything you said, it was exactly that. The accordion effect. He was right at the end of the line, came in there so hot, he wheel hopped down into the corner, hit the back end of the car in front of him, and then he got spun across that curve that we already talked about. He's hung up there right now as the safety worker to try to get him pulled loose. I don't think the car's damaged that bad, but he is literally just stuck on top of the curve.
I'm seeing about 3 or 4 drivers that are dragging part of the rear bumper. We saw Austin Dillon, Casey Mears in the 13. There's a lot of them, they have parts and pieces hanging off the back of them.
You know, like we used to come here, we put additional support in the back of the car and the front of the car, so we wouldn't have pieces flying off of it like that. A big roll bar across the back bumper so you could bam into it and not hurt it.
The 33 on pit road, work being done on David Stremmy's car. Now, you can pit during this caution. However, due to the competition caution at lap 40, you cannot add fuel to the cars.
I think that's the transponder of the 3 car. I'm not sure if that's not what that is dragging along back there. That's what it looks like, some piece of equipment.
And if so, that would be the device that sends the signal to NASCAR scoring. Every time that car goes past the start-finish line or one of the scoring loops, you cannot be scored without that in place.
All of those drivers are on pit road, including Casey Mears, Justin Allgaier, Martin Truex Jr., Casey Kane, and Austin Dillon. A lot of them with damage to the rear of the car.
Well, I think we saw at the front of the field, Mike. Go ahead, Steve. What you got, buddy?
And Mike, Darrell's hearing that the 5 of Casey Kane, you see Austin Dillon on pit road, but the 5 of Casey Kane also has some damage. They want to tape up a hole that's just above a duct opening, so trouble early for Casey Kane in the 5.
But we're at the track where aerodynamics play the least amount. I mean, the straightaway speeds here are less than they are at any NASCAR track.
Unless I had a part dragging the ground, if I knocked a hole in the nose of my car, you know what? I wouldn't worry about it. You know why? It's just more cooling. Because cooler brakes, cooler engine. Let her go, boys.
Good point. Under caution at lap 5, here's today's Ford EcoBoost track facts. Martinsville was a charter track of NASCAR where they raced in the very first season. Once NASCAR was born, it's the last one remaining. And the grandfather clock tradition began in 1964 by track owner and promoter H. Clay Earls. Fred Lorenzen drove a Ford to victory that day and was the first driver who got to wind the clock. Krista?
Kyle Larson, a rookie at this track, his crew chief Chris Heroy telling him, yes, we have a little bit of damage. You see it there on your screen, the left rear, but telling him it's going to be okay. We're just going to leave it as is. They decided not to come in. They'll come in, obviously, on that lap 40 competition caution, but telling the rookie we'll be okay.
Thanks, Krista. Let's go back to the start of this race and have a look at how things began to unfold.
That's what I was going to refer to when we went to the pits with Steve. But I know there's a deal here between the two teammates, the 11 and the 18. Figured that out, but what happened after that, Larry?
Well, I think what happened, Jimmy Johnson in that 48 knew what was going on, and he stayed hooked to the rear bumper, that 18. And I think Denny Hamlin was a little too conservative and gave his teammate too much room, and that allowed Jimmy Johnson to jump down in there to second.
Plus, Johnson had Denny Hamlin 11 pinned down. He hit that curve a little bit, getting in the corner. Car got a little loose. Johnson was able to get a nice bite up off the corner, and now he's running second.
So Kligerman, who is at the back end of that accordion-style crash, is the car that gets towed to the garage area here in the infield.
You can see a lot of those bars I was talking about that we put in the front of these cars because we know we're going to do a lot of pushing and shoving. But look, everything went over the top of that into the radiator.
During the invocation, the preacher mentioned the passing of Tim Plogger, who was a merchandising manager regionally for Kroger, one of his Speedway sponsor, great member of the Speedway family, and did a lot with Victory Junction Gang Camp. We want to remember him. And we asked you to show us how you get ready for race day. Let's take a KFC social media pit stop and get a look at how do you KFC from the Honduras. How about that? There you go. Happy family enjoying the race.
I did a little KFC in this week myself. One right out front out here, not too far from a track.
Bucket of chicken and short track racing, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah,
they are replacing the barrels. Noted racer John Fitch, who passed a year or so ago, was a factory racer for Mercedes and a designer of those barrels filled with sand and dividers, and they attenuated or absorbed impact. You see them in front of bridge abutments on highways all over the country. The big yellow barrels that you see here, a tribute to the inventiveness of Falls Village, Connecticut's great racer, John Fitch.
That's what an orange cone becomes when it grows up. It's one of those.
But it's really the same principle as a safer barrier because it gives. It has give to it when a driver hits it with the car.
Richard Childress Racing say the damage to the number 3 was just general damage. Did not involve the scoring transponder. As we get ready to line up for the restart, want to say hi to one of America's great hot rodders and participating sponsor and supplier to NASCAR, Vic Edelbrock, having a tough recovery from back surgery, and kind of want to wish him well and hope that's a speedy recovery. He gets back behind the wheel of his vintage Mustang soon.
It looks like, Kyle said, that inside is where I really wanted to be, and I'm definitely going to be there now with this 48 car to my right.
And I have my teammate Denny Hamlin in the 11 behind
Follow me this time, and we'll be okay.
Busch, Johnson, Hamlin and Kenseth, Logano, Gordon, Edward Stewart, Danica Patrick, Clint Bowyer. There's your top 10 as we go back to green.
One thing I like about the restarts here, Mike, is that concrete, at the end of the concrete, it's time to go.
For the second time in a row, Denny Hamlin in the 11 did not get going on that start.
Car's a little wobbly on that real low air pressure. The car looks like it's just moving around a little bit. It'll come alive here in a second.
He's fighting Jeff Gordon for 4th, and Danica Patrick gets to the inside. Now it's Bowyer way up on the outside, and along with the 24 of Jeff Gordon.
Daryl, contrary to my belief, the outside groove actually has some decent grip right now.
Well, Larry, there's no grip anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's pretty balanced right now. There's no rubber down on the racetrack, so you can go wherever the other guys aren't right now.
That was Clint Bowyer's front bumper cam. And Gordon closes off Denny Hamlin and secures the 4th spot. Hamlin 5th, Logano 6th, Edwards 7th, Bowyer, Patrick, and Stewart. And a little further back, battling hard, Vickers and Biffle for the 14th spot, and the pack behind him. 2nd place. Here comes Kenseth.
think Matt was too much talking to him on the parade lap there. I don't believe he's too much worried about anything. He's just worried about how long it take him to get to the front. He's got on the move right now.
Tony Stewart, Danica Patrick teammates fighting for ninth. Jamie McMurray looking for racing room behind them.
Really nice run by Danica to qualify in the top 10, and she got a good race car, and she is very confident, and she likes this racetrack. That's where the confidence comes from.
Darrell, when you qualify well, it just makes the whole race flow better, regardless of the length of it.
You have no disadvantages. You got a pretty decent pit stall. You're starting up ahead of a lot of the cars that you normally have to be racing with or try to pass. So everything plays into your favor when you're running well, qualify well.
16th place, Eric Almirola getting underneath Brian Vickers. Here comes Almirola's teammate, Marcus Ambrose. Couldn't quite squeeze in there.
But he tried hard. We got a battle for the lead here. Matt Kenseth just drives by his teammate Kyle Busch to take the lead.
That was pretty impressive, boys. Matt started 6th, and at the end of 16 laps, leading the race.
Kenseth led 96 laps here last spring. 202 in the fall race last year.
Well, this is the kind of racetrack you'd expect Matt Kenseth to be a star on. He grew up on these little racetracks up in Wisconsin, Slinger, places like that. Milwaukee, tracks very similar to this.
We talked about it in the pre-race show. We felt like it would be a battle between Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racing. They occupy the top 5 spots right now.
And Clint Boyer and Tony Stewart past that 99 of Carl Edwards.
And Mike mentioned earlier about the little Ford of Joey Logano. Well, he's running right behind those guys.
Kyle Busch fading. Here comes Jimmy Johnson for second.
Something that didn't look right. That doesn't look right at all.
Well, remember, 20 laps, Darrell, from now, a competition caution. So Kyle has led some laps. If that car is not to his liking, most weeks you don't know when you'll get a chance to fix it. This week you do.
That's totally out of character. I don't care if they're coming to the green, white, whatever. That's pretty unusual for Kyle Busch to do that.
20 laps complete. Coming around to complete 27 laps at Martinsville after just one caution back on lap 3. Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon have fought their way to the front. Joey Logano's come along with them. The Toyotas have faded to 4th, 5th, and 6th. As now Jamie McMurray moves up into the 7th spot. And what has Jimmy Johnson collected?
I'd say debris from that first caution off of someone's car.
Looked like a piece of tape or bear bond or something that was used for repair, and there's more of it. Is that too low to affect Jeff Gordon's cooling, or is it right in the sweet spot there?
I think
that's right in the sweet spot. That's a huge piece, and that is going to cause him a problem.
Well, the good news is we know here in about 12, 14 laps we'll have a competition caution.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. just passed Danica Patrick. That was for 19th. Here comes Menard with a push from A.J. Allmendinger in the 47.
Yeah, one driver opens a door, he gets a lot of friends that follow him through it, just like we saw right there.
And if there's any racetrack where push comes to shove, this is it.
I always like to pay a guy back early if he gets me. If he makes me mad, I always kind of like to let him know I didn't like that, so he'll watch out for me next time.
All right, the Gibbs cars shared the front row, but they've dropped back now to 4th, 8th, and 10th. Steve?
All right, Mike, here's the update on those Gibbs cars. Kyle Busch has said that his car is too tight in the center. He said it feels like it has too much skew and he's loose on throttle. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin says in the 11, no lateral grip, I'm way too loose.
Matt Kenseth fell from 1st to 8th in 6 laps, Matt.
And Mike, a few moments ago, Kenseth told his team he used up his tires, burned them off for a few laps. He's just backed up, settled in, and just waiting for that competition caution. He just cannot touch the throttle. No grip.
Yeah, one of the things that was a concern, because the track was green, you got so much power that you would burn the rear tires off of the car. The 40-lap competition yellow is just about perfect for some of these guys.
For Jimmy Johnson, it can't come soon enough. He's about to get into lap traffic here. Joe Nemechek. The 66 is the last car on the lead lap. And the starter will begin to work that passing flag, and will probably have it in his hand most of the afternoon.
But what that'll do, it's already brought Jeff Gordon in the 24 right up to Jimmie Johnson, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart. It'll bring them right up to the leader because these drivers are fighting to stay on the lead lap.
Darrell, the lapped cars, it looks like here, if they're considerate, they'll move up high and out of the way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, right now, you want to be on the bottom. And if these guys are smart, they will move up out of the way before they get knocked up out of the way.
David Stremme next in the 33 this week, the Indiana shoe, and then just ahead of him, Michael Annett in the 7. Plenty of room for Johnson there.
What you're not ever sure of when you're like Jimmie Johnson is that 33, when I got a nose on, is he going to give me that inside or is he going to race me down in there? You got to really be careful.
Well, the other thing, these drivers that are on the verge of going a lap down, they're fighting to be the first driver a lap down, knowing that in 4 laps we get that competition caution if they do get lapped.
See, you don't want to race people or get wrecked by people that can't beat you. You know, you don't want to take a chance lapping a car right now, knowing that could mess up your whole day. So you got to be pretty cautious.
And one of those cars just 3 cars ahead is Johnson's teammate, Kasey Kahne. Now 2 laps to the competition caution, which will fly once the field pretty much cycles through here. Tony Stewart underneath Kyle Busch for 4th.
That's a fast car right there, that 14. He has been coming up through there and passed him when he caught him.
Well, 2 consecutive top 5 finishes for Tony coming in here.
Michael Annett did not want to give way, and Jimmie Johnson might have helped him up the racetrack just a little bit.
But see, that's what I was talking about, Mike. He should have gotten up out of the way. Now we got a battle up here for second.
Yeah, everything backed up, and Joey Logano took advantage in the 22 of Jeff Gordon. Logano moves to second, and shortly that caution flag should wave as they come by to complete lap 40, and we will have the competition yellow. Kasey Kahne will escape going a lap down, and so will Travis Kvapil in the 32. Well, that was an eventful 40 laps.
Now comes the fun part.
At Martinsville Speedway, there is just one pit road. They used to pit on the front stretch and the back stretch. Then they built that garage area on what was the back straightaway pit. So everyone enters right there in turn 3 and comes around pit road start right there, and they continue all the way around to the exit of turn 2. So everyone enters the pits at turn 3 and exits at turn 2.
And if you want to see what a pit stall selection will do, that 18 car's in the first pit box up there. Let's see where he comes out in relation to where he goes in.
There's a mark on the track at the end of the back straightaway that is the commitment line, but you see you're coming around here pretty blind. And on the outside wall down toward turn 1, outside pit wall, there are numbers to show drivers where to start turning in, because it's a blind entry into your pit if you're pitted in the corner.
And I think with even a green racetrack, by having no rubber on it, we've been talking about track position. What we mean by that, keeping your car as near the front as possible. I think you'll see a lot of different strategies on this stop right here. 2 tires and then some changing all 4.
Yeah, but this is such a busy pit road. I mean, you got to watch out for somebody pulling out in front of you. You got to know where the timing lines are. You got to find your pit box. A lot of action on pit road.
Pit road's open. Krista.
And Tony Stewart being told by his crew chief Chad Johnston where that first timing line is for him. Right now he said his race car is very good in and off the corners. He's just a little bit tight center. You see the wrench going in. They're going to make a track bar adjustment to give him a little bit looser of a race car in the middle, a little bit more turn. 4 tires for Tony. Matt?
Jimmie Johnson slides to a stop. They're making a chassis adjustment across the back. Now he does have an opening in front to help his exit, but it's only half size of a pit box. He was loose on exit, Steve.
Matt, Jeff Gordon says he feels like he's wearing the right front out. He's tight getting into 1, loose off 2. Joey Logano says, I need more forward bite. I need drive off. Kyle Busch saying, I need more forward bite, and I'm not rolling the center the way I need to.
Jimmie Johnson wins that race off pit road, and there's a crash. Kasey Kahne got hit by Brad Keselowski.
And that's serious damage to that 2 car.
So many drivers on pit road. That's the product. Kasey Kahne was one of the last drivers to come in there. He gets hit by Brad Keselowski as he was trying to leave, and that's a lot of damage on that 2 car.
We're really bad here.
They call it a half mile of mayhem. Ready for the restart. Brad Keselowski, major damage to the front of his car. He's gone to the garage to make repairs after he was exiting pit road. Kasey Kahne was coming in and they collided. We'll show you replay in a bit here, but right now we're getting ready to restart with Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon on the front row. Two Chevys in front of the Toyotas of Kenseth and Busch. Then Stewart, Logano, Hamlin, McMurray, Harvick, and Bowyer. The top 10.
Boy, there's some real disagreement about who goes where back in the pack there. They were 3 wide coming to get the green here, but they got it sorted out.
Jeff Gordon in that 24 battling Matt Kenseth in the 20 on the outside for that second spot.
Well, we saw Matt. He started 6th, drove to the lead, but then the car went away on him. So they probably made some pretty serious adjustments to Matt Kenseth's 20 car.
Kenseth slots in. Now it's Tony Stewart on the outside to battle Kenseth for third. Darrell, everybody's got new tires, but how long do you dare run the outside?
Well, I don't know. Right now, I don't think it makes a lot of difference because there's no real distinctive groove. There's not a lot of rubber on the track. So if you can get around on the outside, that's the place to do it because that's not where, and nobody wants to be out there.
Right now, Tony Stewart at 14, he does not want to get hung on the outside because there's such a long line of drivers on the inside.
Yeah, that's the downside, Mike, then, Larry. To get out there, you get in a situation like Tony's in, and, buddy, next thing you know, you're running 20th. You can make some good moves on new tires for a lap or two, but then you need to get back in line.
All right, let's go back to what happened on pit road to Brad Keselowski. Now, watch the 5 of Kasey Kahne. You're watching from Eric Almirola's car. Kane's trying to get into his pit. Brad's trying to exit. And there's the damage. Kurt Busch clips him hard on the right front.
Yeah, we saw Kurt Busch in the 41 back on pit road as well.
It almost looked like the 5 car got on the brakes and got loose trying to turn into his pit box in front of Brad.
As we spoke at the top of the day, when you're pitting down in turn 1, it's a blind entry to your pit. And Kahne might have wanted to turn in a little sooner.
Well, I know that the 2 car, they didn't qualify that well, but they were really excited about their car for the race because it was one of the fastest cars on the longer runs. Thought they really had a nice package for the race.
Keselowski is still in the garage along with David Stremme and Parker Kligerman. Larry, everyone made adjustments at lap 40, but is that the critical adjustment, or do you need to wait and look at the tires that came off the car at lap 40 and then make your game plan here on out?
Well, I think you had to make adjustments based on what your driver was telling you. We know we heard a lot of drivers that were loose, but yeah, I think the reason about every driver in their team changed 4 tires right there, they wanted to look at the wear. I think we'll get into the mode where we see more just 2 tire stops.
All right, backing up is Jeff Gordon. You just saw Tony Stewart go past, and that'll drop Gordon to 6th. Down to the garage, and Matt.
Mike catching up with the Miller Lite driver, Brad Keselowski. So walk us through the traffic on your issue on pit road, Brad.
It's just typical Martinsville stuff. You know, it's lap 50, and everybody's got to give and take on the racetrack and on pit road. And you know, the 5 car was pitted in the stall in front of me, and he was at, you know, whatever struggles he had earlier in the race, he had to come in. And I saw him checking up, and I started to check up, and I just barely got in the back of him. And then Kurt just accelerated and drove through us. Absolutely drove through us. I tell you, man, I'm about tired of his recklessness.
We've seen the cosmetic damage. How bad is the race car in the front under the hood?
Well, Kurt tore the whole suspension off the car, so it won't turn, it won't do anything. So thanks, Kurt. Appreciate it, bud.
We often say fenders and tempers both flare at Martinsville. Good bit of damage to the left side of Kurt Busch's car from that contact. And up front, things have changed.
They have. I mean, now we got 2 teammates, not the 24 and the 48. We got the 20 and the 18. They definitely made some nice changes on their cars on that 40-lap caution. And you can see right there, Matt pulled over and said, Kyle, you lead a while.
But look at that forward to Joey Logano. You know, he belongs. You know, he qualified right in the midst of the Gibbs and the Hendrick cars. And his Ford, his Penske car has been there, right there.
It'll be somewhere else if he pulls down in front of Tony Stewart one more time like he just did going into turn 1. Smoke doesn't take kindly to that, and he's got a fast car. That 14 is somebody to keep an eye on.
Steve?
And Mike, Jeff Gordon just told his crew that his car is way too loose. He's had to back off to save it. On that pit stop, crew chief Chief Alan Gustafson told him his left rear was the tire that was worn the most.
And that 24 car, if we remember some of the interviews we did with Jeff Gordon, he said, my car is really loose and we can't get it tightened up. A loose car will buzz the rear tires right off of it.
And Darrell, you have such a low gear, a 650, and you're trying to hook up almost 900 horsepower with a track that doesn't have a lot of grip to begin with.
You drive in the corner hard on the brakes, use up the front tires. Get the thing turned, put the gas down, use up the rear tires. That's what we're going to deal with here for a while till we get some rubber in the track.
And that's the thrill of watching a race here at Martinsville. Drivers have more resources than they can manage at one time, and it makes for exciting racing.
Got Logano going up there and getting underneath of Matt Kenseth for second place. And Mike, you were right. That 22 looks pretty racy.
You know, what we're seeing here is almost a case of comers and goers from that first run to this run.
64 laps complete. Kyle Busch's Toyota leads.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By Liberty Mutual Insurance. Responsibility. What's your policy? And by Ram Trucks. Guts. Glory. Ram.
72 laps complete. Joey Logano has forged his Ford to the front by a second over Jimmie Johnson. Last time a Ford won here was 12 years ago. None of the current Ford drivers were even in the series then. Now, we heard from Brad Keselowski, not happy with Kurt Busch about what happened on pit road. Keselowski's car just now returning to the racetrack minus all of its front end sheet metal. Here's what Kurt told his crew about it.
We just got destroyed by the 2 car coming out of the pits. Left rear just got hammered. We're probably ruined for the rest of the day.
Yeah, see, that's something you got to work on, man. I mean, we're 70 laps into the race. You got a little. Every car here is going to have body damage on it. Everybody here is going to have some issue. Put it behind you. We got 430 more laps to go, buddy.
Sound like to me 3 sides to that story. Kurt's side, Brad's side, and probably what really truly happened.
Well, that's the 3 sides of the story, right? His, yours, and the truth.
Keselowski returns to the race 30 laps off pace after repairing the front end. Steering, that is. Never mind the bodywork.
I know if I saw that coming up behind me, I'd probably move out of his way.
Now, look at the 18 of Kyle Busch. Steve, 11 laps ago, he was leading the race. His elevator has dropped to 16th.
Yeah, here's his issue, Mike. He just told the team, I can't touch the gas pedal while still turning. The back is way too loose. He said, I got nothing out here.
Just think back to last week. He had a car that was fast for 3 or 4 laps, and that was it. And he'd start falling back like he is today. Remember we talked about him starting on the pole. I said, yeah, you can get 1 fast lap out of a car like that, but can you get 500? That's what he's going to be dealing with today.
Kyle Larson, who finished second to Busch last week, moves underneath and moves by. That'll move.
But Mike, you can, and Larry knows this, you can have a car that you get lapped in, but that crew down there, they can come in, you can lower that track bar, change the air pressure, put a little wedge in it, and the first thing you know, you got a car that's fastest car on the track. That's the beautiful thing about a short track.
Well, I know who may have the fastest car on the track right now, though, is Jimmie Johnson in that 48 car. He has closed right up to the rear bumper of Joey Logano on the 22. Won't that lead back?
Now closing in as they work the traffic is Matt Kenseth once again from third. Matt.
Mike, a few laps back, DW asked about the changes. The 20 car Kenseth, they did indeed make changes. Jason Ratcliffe made a track bar adjustment, trying to get more grip, as everybody else is complaining about the same issues. We've got a lead change, and Jimmie Johnson goes the point. Kenseth trying to follow along. They're just trying to get more grip with this car on exit.
Jimmie Johnson back to the front. And now it's Joey Logano. After his turn to lead a bunch of laps, he quickly fades to third.
Yeah, well, once he got shoved up a little bit by Jimmie Johnson to make that pass, sort of opened the door a little bit for Matt Kenseth in the 20, and then Matt really bonsaied him going into one right here, and Joey gave me inside, let him go. It's one of the worst feelings in the world when a spotter is telling you on a track like this. I mentioned at Bristol a couple weeks ago, but a track like this, when the spotter says he's looking, he's inside and looking. Okay, so am I supposed to turn in or am I supposed to give him the line? So I always like to say he's there.
I've been watching Marcus Ambrose in that 9 car who just drove by Denny Hamlin in the 11. Marcus started 17th. He's moved up to 6th. Had a great run at our other short track a few weeks ago at Bristol, finished 5th.
Here we go.
You think these two guys are looking for each other, or is that one guy looking for that other one? Or
Darrell, race drivers have longer memory than elephants.
I don't know. You look out the nose of that thing, you don't have one. Do you remember who did it?
Well, that's true.
I saw a hand coming out the left side window of that 2 car as well.
Yeah. You want by me? You may have to work a little bit.
This is going to get ugly here.
Here we go. And Brad jams on the brakes. Everybody stacks up. Now they're side by side, and it's on, heading for turn 3. And it's off again.
But no, you know what? Brad didn't wreck him. Brad just sent him a little message. He wasn't happy.
We'd say he brake jobbed him.
He just did a little number on him, but he didn't wreck him.
No.
All I know is we still have 414 laps to go.
And that's what I love about short tracks. You can do that. You can send a guy a message. You can mess with him a little bit. You don't have to wreck him.
Krista?
I want to give you guys an update on Clint Bowyer. He's dropped back a little bit because he said the left side of his car he feels like is coming up out of the track. He's spinning the tires. He's talking about maybe putting a spring rubber in the right rear.
And here's what I'm seeing. These guys are eating up their rear tires. We've seen a bunch of comers and goers. Tony Stewart, he was on a tear going up through there, and now he's falling back to 7th. Every time somebody makes a hard charge, they fall back.
A.J. Allmendinger, 15th, and here we are again in close contact, let's say.
I think that
pow, right there.
Just wants to mess with him a little bit.
Brad Keselowski has nothing to lose. He's 31 laps down. He has a win at Las Vegas, and he doesn't have a whole lot of race car left.
Well, and you know, you heard Kurt say, I guess our day is over. Well, maybe he knew something that we didn't.
Well, that many years ago, Kurt Busch was driving that 2 car.
But listen, Brad is doing exactly what some of us older drivers would do. We would haunt you. Every time you saw me, you knew I was going to be in your way. Every time you saw me, you knew I might shove you up the hill a little bit.
Kind of like, remember me?
Don't think this is over, folks. We have 408 laps to go at Martinsville Speedway. "99 laps complete. Here's a closer look at today's race with Sprint. Dale Earnhardt Jr. up 14 spots from 26th. Is the biggest mover of the race. Switch now to the new Sprint Family plan. Up to 10 of your friends and family can get unlimited talk, text, and a gig of data for as little as $25 a month each on the Sprint network. Visit sprint.com/speed. This has continued on all the way through the commercial break. One would lead, the other would follow. Somebody would pass, somebody would challenge. And Brad Keselowski, 31 laps down, not going to let Kurt Busch get anywhere away from him.
No, it's just aggravating each other. I'll aggravate you a while, and then you aggravate me a while. But I always say, I'm not going to win today, but guess what? Neither are you.
But this is exactly, boy.
Whoa, Ricky.
All the way up the racetrack.
And he was trying to pass those two. Now caution is out.
I think there's a guy that's really glad that for Tony Stewart. I saw Tony. I think these guys are totally out of tires. We got 62 laps since the caution. These guys are totally out of tires and they're just hanging on.
Ricky Stenhouse was 24th. Tony Stewart was 20th. And you saw the in-car view. Let's take a look and watch the 17. Here comes Stenhouse trying to pass the Brad and Kurt show. And wow.
Stenhouse just got in there a little too hot. Got a lot of brake in it and the car took off. And I'm telling you, these guys are out of tires. Wheel hop. You hear it?
Inside.
That's why I say you got on the brakes real hard to not hit the 41 like wheel hop.
One back, clear.
Now, just before that, we're talking Tony Stewart. Watch what happened to him.
Now, Smoke was charging to the front here. He goes on the outside. They're 3 wide right here, and he gets shoved up in the corner here by Kevin Harvick, and that cost him dearly.
And remind me, doesn't Kevin Harvick drive for Tony Stewart?
Yeah, but he was in the way.
Oh.
It's understandable when you're in the way.
But Darrell, it's almost like he got shoved up so high, he got into what we call the marbles and got a lot of those little rubber clunks on his tire and had to get them cleaned off before he could get going again.
What I see, there's a number of cars that are really good when they got fresh tires, but they're wearing their tires out quicker than some of the leaders are, like Jimmie Johnson and Matt Kenseth.
This should be 4 tires for everyone and fill her up with Sunoco race fuel.
And a couple of wrecks on pit road.
Matt?
And talking about leader Jimmie Johnson, he said his car was good entry through the center, could use a little help on exit with drive off. Meanwhile, Matt Kenseth, the 20 car, top of your screen, same issues as the last time. Tight through the center and just cannot get in the throttle when he needs to. Steve.
Matt, Jeff Gordon saying I can't use the brakes as much as I need to. They're going to pull a spring rubber out of the right rear spring. Meanwhile, Joey Logano said, hey, I'm not terrible. I'm just losing drive off as the laps continue to wind down.
Kevin Harvick, last of the leaders to hit his pit stall. Jimmie Johnson coming out as Harvick comes in, but none of the drama we saw earlier as the leaders exit and have to whoa up because the pace car still has the lap down cars in tow just ahead.
Just a little slow on the 48, just a little bit.
Matt Kenseth keeps winning the battle off pit road, and it's pit selection on a timing line that's doing it for him.
We're under caution for the 3rd time today for this. Ricky Stenhouse's slide and slam. There is the restart box as Matt Kenseth has Joey Logano alongside, and it's a drag race down this 800-foot straightaway to turn 1.
Mike, they were playing games with that restart line.
Joey Logano, he's going to be able to squeeze down in the 2nd place in that 22 in front of Jimmie Johnson in the 48.
Well, Hamlin to the bottom. Dive bombs Marcus Ambrose.
And he made it.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a big move.
It was a bold move, that's for sure. Here comes the 31 on the outside. Brian Newman with Brian Vickers behind him. And for the lead, Logano comes through. Before today, Joey Logano had never led here as Josh Wise comes to pit road. He got caught in a turn 3 dust up on the restart with Danica Patrick and others.
So I think that's a part of the frustration with Brad Keselowski too. Joey's been fast all weekend, set a track record in qualifying, running up front, while Brad has kind of struggled just a little bit here this weekend.
But Brad explained that, Darrell, after Friday. He said all we worked on was race runs. It hurt us in qualifying, kept us out of the last session. He said we've got a really good car for the race until he got into Casey Kane on pit road and Kurt Busch got into him.
And I know Joey, we got a spin down
Big
3 and 4.
spin.
Big spin.
3 cars involved. There's Michael Annett, David Gilliland, and Michael McDowell stopped to avoid it. And so did Kyle Larson, who is back there because he made a 2nd pit stop while the caution was out. 8 degrees of banking on the concrete, 8 to 9, upwards of 12 up on the asphalt in these corners. This started, it appears, coming down the back straightaway.
Yeah, it's a battle for 32nd. And you can see here, everybody's trying to get down on the inside. Michael Annett in the 7 comes down.
Travis Kvapil was there.
Travis Kvapil, 38,
Yep.
and David Gilliland comes in there.
And we're back under caution at lap 113. Kvapil got into the 7, which turned the 38. Yellow flag is the result.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Enter for a chance to win the new 2014 Chevy SS and a trip for 2 to Hendrick Motorsports to meet Team Chevy drivers Jimmie Johnson and Casey Kane. Visit winyourchevy.com. 117 laps complete on that caution flag. 3 lead lap drivers made pit stops. Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch, and Ricky Stenhouse. Martin Truex got the free pass. He is back on the lead lap. So we'll restart with 29 lead lap cars. 6 more, 1 lap down. and others pretty deep in the field.
Watch these restarts, Mike. The last time Logano and Kenseth really played games with each other, coming to the restart line right at the edge of the concrete. That's where you got that box you got to get in there to restart. And they were kind of playing a little bit of games there.
This was once thought of as a Ford racetrack. It suited the characteristics of the torque of the Ford engine. Last time Ford won a race here, Joey Logano was 12.
Yeah, a Chevrolet engine has a lot low-end torque. It really would knock the wheels and spin the wheels. Ford a little softer with torque, a little more higher RPM.
This time it's Logano on the brake, and here comes Johnson with him.
Well, he took off.
Kenseth in the 20 got a pretty good bite up off of turn 2. Can't quite clear Jimmie Johnson in that 48.
Ooh, buddy. See right there, you just aren't sure. Should I cut down? No, I got to leave a little bit of room. So close. If he could have cut down going into one, he gets the spot. But now he's going to get stuck on the outside.
And he's got Hamlin lurking on his rear bumper.
You
who won the battle with Ambrose.
You can sit out there for 3 or 4 laps because you got fresh tires. But, buddy, you can't stay out there very long or you'll get freight trained.
Now, if you're Hamlin, do you let your teammate in?
Yeah,
not so much.
Probably not.
No.
I wanted to. I thought about it. I wish I could have.
There's Marcus Ambrose in that 9. He's right there ready to pounce. As Denny Hamlin in the 11 opens the door on the bottom.
See, that's what happens when you sit out there on the outside too long and you start to lose a little bit of grip, then you start to get freight trained.
How about that driver right behind Marcus Ambrose in that 16 car, Greg Biffle? Chris Myers mentioned it in the pre-race. He has never had a top 5 finish here, qualified well, and he's keeping it at the front.
And he's denying Matt Kenseth a shot at the inside lane, Steve.
In the report from Greg Biffle, he says we're just a hair tight, just a little bit tight. They made a track bar adjustment and also a wedge adjustment.
Thanks, Steve. Now remember, Jeff Gordon pitted under this caution along with Ricky Stenhouse. And look at the front end of his car. Here's why.
And see, it's that accordion thing, Mike, and you saw that nose on that 24 really buck up in the air, Steve, like you got a lot of damage.
And DW, they have pulled spring rubbers twice, which is a sign that car is not handling. But Jeff Gordon said, we just killed the nose of this race car.
And that's the tightrope that a driver and a team walks. You need to make adjustments. You have to weigh out risk versus reward, though, going all the way to the back of the pack.
Dale Jr. to 8th, dropping Kenseth to 9th. Here comes Vickers. But I've been watching Jeff Gordon, and I think I can explain why that happened down there. Gordon has no drive up off the corner. He's just not getting any launch. He loses a car length or 2 exiting the corner. He's got to try to make it up on exit by going in deep. It was just the wrong time to do that.
And all the cars in front of him were slowing down and a lot faster than he was. He was coming at a real high closing rate. The guys in front of him were already slowing down. He bammed into the back of the 32.
You see there how Landon Castle gets away from Jeff Gordon on corner exit. Jeff's got to make it up on corner entry.
You can, but listen, every car here most likely will have some sort of body damage when this race is over with. You don't have to worry so much about your fenders. Or just don't knock a hole in the radiator and don't close off the brake ducts and you'll be fine.
I got a story for you on that after we ride with Jimmie Johnson. Darrell?
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy is in really good shape. I think he has a good car in the long run. You can see his steering angle getting quite a bit. Watch how far you have to turn the wheel here at Martinsville. You'll never see a driver turn the wheel that far anywhere else. I mean, that's a handful. That's what we call a handful.
And just the miles per hour difference from the end of the straightaway to off the gas in the middle of the corner.
But listen to the engine. That's what you hear these drivers all the time talk about, rhythm. And the engine is part of that rhythm. Listen. You just get that in your mind. You hear it over and over again. You don't even have to look. You know right where you are based on the sound of the engine.
From 4,800 RPM mid-corner to 9,600 at the end of the straightaway, you're doubling your RPM from its slowest to its highest point on one straightaway here.
Yeah, and it's buzzing the rear. The guys that are really good, you got to be able to put that throttle down and not buzz those rear tires.
Johnson has great drive off, and he returns to the lead, passing Joey Logano. Denny Hamlin and Marcus Ambrose have caught the leaders now.
Yeah, I mean, that old 48 car is boot scooting up off the corner. She just lays down and goes.
Now you're inside Eric Almirola's car. Watching him massage the brake pedal on the left and the throttle on the right.
Yeah, just watch the. I mean, the brakes are great. They're over on the left, and you're just tapping those. You're not putting a lot of pressure on that brake if your car's handling pretty good. But watch him work this throttle. A little bit of throttle, a little bit of throttle, a little bit of throttle. Try to get up on. Finally, I get up on the straightaway, and I can mash it wide open. Just for an instant, not very long.
One thing I noticed, they know the driver really uses that brake pedal. Look at the size of the return spring that Trent Owens and that group that they put on that brake pedal.
Well, that's the thing that we used to do here all the time, and apparently it still works. We put a big spring so that you can ride with your left foot on the pedal, but it's not applying pressure. Because a driver that left foot brakes will lay that foot on that pedal. He's applying pressure, but he doesn't know it.
Almirola is 14th. His teammate in the Stanley Ford, Marcus Ambrose, in that number 9, running up in the front 4 here at 137 laps in Martinsville.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Samsung. The next big thing is here. Do more on the new Galaxy Pro Series tablets. By Dr. Pepper 10. Bold flavor, 10 calories. And by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving. With Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers, 145 laps in, a 500 scheduled. And there's Jimmie Johnson, your leader. He's led for 60, make that 71 laps so far. Last year in this entire race, we only had 12 lead changes. We have already had 11 today. But, Michael, let's go back to Kurt Busch, coming off of his first top 5 finish of the year, currently running 12th, weathered that pit road incident and the little retaliation from Brad Keselowski. We even heard Kurt on the radio say, when this is over, I'm paraphrasing, punch him in the face, and then he said, now we all have to focus.
And he's done just that. The maturity he showed when Brad was messing with him during that green flag run was amazing, and now he's raced his way up inside the top 15. So great job from Kurt recovering from what could have been a day-ending scrub-up with Brad Keselowski.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has finished second here twice, has never won here. He's won more, or I should say led more laps at Martinsville than any other track. Started 26th, and now he's worked his way up to the 6th spot.
Yeah, he was confident that he had a great car in race trim, and he's methodically worked his way through the field. It's hard to pass that many cars, Chris. He's got a fast race car. He's led a lot here in the past, like you mentioned. Look for him to be a factor late in this race.
And Petty Motorsports, Marcus Ambrose in the 9. He's up to 4th on the radio, telling his crew, hey, I think we can win this. The goal, let's win it for Miss Linda, referring, of course, to Linda Petty, who passed away this week.
And, man, he's solid. He just drove around Denny Hamlin, one of the guys we thought you'd have to beat to win this race. He's been able to move around Hamlin up to the 4th spot now. Ambrose is looking good. A couple other guys with some good, strong runs earlier. Paul Menard is currently running 12th. He's been inside the top 10 a lot. And look at Biffle. Biffle, not one top 5 finish on a short track here at Martinsville, but yet he's raced up to 2nd here. He might be a factor. Chris, I think if you've never finished on the top 5, as long as Greg's been doing it, you'd think, does he have it in him? He's showing. Yes, I do.
Absolutely. 0 for 68 on short tracks when it comes to victories. Maybe he's aiming for one here. Only one of the 5 leaders today has won at Martinsville, and Jimmie Johnson is your leader at the moment on Fox. NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by Toyota. Let's go places.
341 laps to go. We have a new leader. It's Greg Biffle in the 3M Ford of Jack Roush. Here's the pass he made down in turn 1 on Jimmie Johnson.
Yeah, he just come down. He got a heck of a run on Jimmie Johnson, and he just pushed him up the hill a little bit. Just touched Jimmy enough to move him up, and the Biff to the lead.
Now he's jumped out by 1/4 of a second. Logano and Ambrose looking in, and A.J. Allmendinger up into the top 4 from 15th.
But just remember, a couple of years ago, A.J. Allmendinger, driving the 22 car, had a career best finish of 2nd here at Martinsville. But Krista looks like he's good on the long run.
Yes, he is, Larry, Matt, because their car has changed quite a bit from the start of this race. At the start of the race, he was bouncing everywhere. He said he had no rear grip. He was tight in traffic. They made a track bar adjustment that has really helped him. He's been tight. When he has been tight, it's late in 3 and 4.
Right, but this track had to go through a pretty major change. It was green, no rubber. When we say green, no rubber on the track whatsoever, and that was wearing the tires out. Now the tire wear will improve, and the good handling cars can really go forward.
Allmendinger looking for his second straight top 10 as Marcus Ambrose draws a bead on Jimmie Johnson out of turn number 2, and Allmendinger is going to catch them. Matt?
Mike, Jimmie Johnson's car is stout on long runs and probably the most consistent of the comers and goers, but he has lost the handle on exit again. It's too free, lost the grip. Chad Knaus thinking about what change to make next time around. And by the way, if he needs to call out a backup for suggestion, how about their special guest on top of the pit box today? Hall of Famer Junior Johnson. He's won here a couple times. That's respect hanging out there.
Junior lives near right across the street from Rick Hendrick, and Junior, I've talked to him a number of times. He goes over to Rick's facility over there, and Junior says, I never thought I'd see the kind of equipment and way they run these teams today. It's just amazing.
Well, we had dinner Friday night at Clarence Pickerel's, Clarence's Steakhouse right down the street. Said, you seen Junior lately? Said, he'll be around.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Junior loves coming to the races.
Here he is. Well, one driver who is among the goers and has dropped back to 20th place is outside pole sitter Denny Hamlin. What's up there, Steve?
Yeah, Mike, a bit of a contradiction. His last report was, he said, you know, my car's not bad. I just need some more forward bite getting off the corners.
And you know, here's what I truly believe has happened now that we're 167 laps into this race. We know that the same drivers normally come here no matter who they're driving for, and they run well. But I think with the rule change during the offseason where these teams do not have to worry about ride heights, it's totally changed the way they set these cars up. I think it's reared its head here more than it did those first 5 races we were at.
But remember, Larry, you're right, and I totally agree. But we've been to so many different configurations of racetracks. There's no other track. Remember, we talked about you can't go anywhere and test for Martinsville. You can go someplace and try to test for Martinsville until you get here and you try to plant 850 horsepower off of concrete onto asphalt. It's just no place where you can duplicate that. So this track is a challenge.
Here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. moving into the top 5, passing Joey Logano. A spin at turn 2. Casey Mears.
Stay low.
Caution is out at lap 170. 5th caution flag of the day. He was 31st, 1 lap down when that happened.
I didn't see it. Was it assisted or unassisted? Let's take a look.
Let's find out.
See him right back there. I believe he got a little help from David Gilliland in that 38 car.
And of course, you can see around the top of the racetrack all that rubber buildup that's up there, and you get in that and you just have no control. Yep. A little help from the 38 there, Gilliland. Even on the short track, look at those roof flaps and hood flaps come up. Even on the short track, what are they running right there, Larry? Probably 50, 60 miles an hour going around.
Yeah, yeah. They definitely still work very effectively, though. It's been about 51 laps since that last restart, so pit road will be busy. 4 fresh tires.
Jeff Hammond.
Hey guys, one of the things I've been watching as these cars get ready to come down pit road are the center of these hubs. When they come down, last few times, I've been checking it, 325 degrees, when they go on at 60 degrees. So we're still seeing a whole lot of heat as far as around the side of this hub, this wheel. I think for the end of the day, we're probably going to have some brake problems before it's all said and done. They're really putting a lot of heat in these tires right now.
Thanks, Jeff. Greg Biffle leads them on to pit road. Krista.
Mike, I love to share with you how drivers are feeling inside the race cars. A.J. Allmendinger just coming on the radio earlier and said, pretty cool to pass Jimmie Johnson at Martinsville. His car is so good that they don't plan on making any adjustments on this stop, Matt.
Krista, Jimmie Johnson, the 48 machine, back to 4th, upper left of your screen. He said, if anything, if you can help my exit, that is where I'm being hindered most. Making a chassis adjustment in the car, Steve, just rolls so well through the center.
Well, Matt, Marcus Ambrose in the 9 says, I'm just a little bit tight in the center. Help me roll there. You see Marcus Ambrose. Meanwhile, Greg Biffle said, I'm pretty good. I'm just a little bit loose in. He's in the 16 car. And Joey Logano in the 22, he exits pit road, says, I just don't have any drive off the corners.
Nice job by team number 9. Marcus Ambrose will be the first off pit
nice
road.
job till they get over and have to stop. But, man, look at this. There's Kane coming in there again like we saw him do earlier. Coming around that turn, you just have no idea. They're all stopped there. But there is some hanky-panky going on pit road with these timing lines. I can tell you that.
Marcus Ambrose, whose career in NASCAR started right here in 2006 in the Truck Series, is your leader.
Well, Kurt tore the whole suspension off the car, so it won't turn, it won't do anything. So thanks, Kurt. Appreciate it, bud.
We just got destroyed by the 2 car coming out of the pit.
We're bad here. We're really bad here, Paul.
Left rear just got hammered. We're probably ruined for the rest of the day.
Rest of the day has a long way to go at 176 laps. Marcus Ambrose and Greg Biffle are your leaders after pit stops. Here's a closer look at today's race action with Sprint. The last time Richard Petty's number 43 visited Victory Lane at Martinsville, it was 1999. John Andretti was the driver. Switch now to the new Sprint family plan. Up to 10 of your friends and family can get unlimited talk, text, and gig of data for as little as $25 a month each on the Sprint network. Visit a Sprint store and start your family today. Eric Almirola, I see all those stickers all over the place, and all I can think of is Dick May. He was a rep for STP. You'd get on an airplane, and as you walked off the jet bridge, there'd be a sticker on the fuselage right next to the door opening. He put them everywhere.
As a kid, I had them on my notebook. You know, you had STP stickers. They were the hot tip, man. Andy Granatelli, I remember him so well.
Here's your Ram race summary. Marcus Ambrose, the leader, 27 lead lap cars with Ryan Truex, who got the free pass. We've had 13 changes among 7 different leaders, and we've just finished up the 5th caution of the day. Guts, Glory, Ram, green flag.
Boy, these restarts are really interesting.
Joey Logano on that 22, he has had a lot of experience starting on the outside in this race, and he knows he has to stay in contact with that leader to try to slide back down into the second.
Matt Kenseth, the first non-Ford in that mix. His Toyota alongside Biffle for 3rd. Then Johnson and Earnhardt in Chevrolet.
But we've seen Matt do this time and time again. He gets on that outside. He can't quite get down. He can't clear. Well, he's going to be able to clear Biffle, which is what he needed. You get hung up there very long, you're going to get freight trained.
Biffle had no drive off the corner that time, Darrell. Johnson almost ran over him.
Yeah, something happened. He just couldn't get back in the gas.
A.J. Allmendinger hanging tough in 7th. Kurt Busch in 8th. McMurray, Newman, and Vickers.
Hey, another guy that's done a really nice job of getting himself up here in the top 5 or 6 is Dale Jr. Dale Jr. right behind Jimmy Johnson, his teammate, and Jr.'s made some nice moves to get up near the front.
5 cautions in the first 170 laps. Think we'll be able to ride a while?
I wouldn't count on it. I would not count on it.
Where is Brad Keselowski? And where is Kurt Busch?
They're separated by half the field.
Oh, we'll be okay for a while.
All right.
Matter of fact, Kurt has done a pretty nice job of rebounding. He's running 8th.
Harvick to the inside of Brian Vickers, and Harv picks up 11.
In a car that Kurt Busch that was destroyed earlier, and he's running 8th now. But that was my point about control your emotions. Don't get excited, man. We got a long way to go.
Right now, Jimmy Johnson in this 48, he's trying to open the door to the low side of Greg Biffle in the 16, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., his teammate in the 88, taking advantage of it as well.
Right behind them, Allmendinger, Busch, and McMurray. And now the Biffle's up on the high side.
It appears they made some sort of an adjustment to that 16 car on that pit stop that it does not like, because Biffle was going somewhere before that caution.
Now that's going to be trouble for Ryan Newman, because he's on the outside. He's going to come right up back behind Biffle. And if he gets there, there's going to be no place to go.
And I see Kevin Harvick in that 4. When they dropped the green flag on this race, he started back in 18th. He marched toward the top 10. And I think they got off on their adjustments, and now they've made more adjustments. The racetrack's starting to take some rubber. He was concerned about this race car. He couldn't even make a long run in practice on Friday.
Yeah, Larry, I think wearing out the rear tires was throwing these guys a curveball down there in the pits. They were making adjustments based on the fact the tires were wearing out. But that tire wear will improve as this race goes along.
The other thing we're seeing for the first time this weekend, for the last 50 laps or so, the sun's out.
Oh, is that what that is? Wow. That could change things a little bit. Not a whole lot. All it'll really do is make the track take rubber a little faster. It won't necessarily heat the track up that much, but that sunshine will help the track take rubber in the groove.
Which can change the grip level.
Which would change change right quite a bit.
Kurt Busch dove to the inside on Allmendinger and makes the pass.
You know, Mike, you just mentioned it. Kurt Busch in that 41. 140 laps ago, the guy was riding his day off. I don't think anybody in that garage area challenges his driving ability, but certainly getting out of the wrong frame of mind is not one of his strong suits. He needs to think about what's going on here.
Well, I know that's what he's been working on, and apparently it's helped because he hasn't self-destruct today like we have seen him do sometimes.
Well, we heard the outburst. We didn't hear if calming him down was an internal or external force, whatever it was. It has worked as Busch has fought his way back to 6th place. Looking back at Hamlin from Eric Almirola, they are 13th and 14th. Tony Stewart underneath Paul Menard, that's for 15th, and here comes Austin Dillon, the number 3. He's the highest Sunoco rookie in the race right now. You see Kyle Larson 2 cars back of him.
Got a real nice race here. 2 yellow car, well, a yellow and a red car.
Matt Kenseth gunning for 2nd and keeps Logano to the high side long enough for Jimmy Johnson to gain ground.
It's just like Daytona and Talladega. If there's an opening, you get a guy shoved up a little bit, you want to get that nose in there and get by him because you don't have a lot of opportunities to pass here.
But yeah, you just mentioned Austin Dillon in the 3. This is his first Sprint Cup Series start here. Kyle Larson ran the race in that 42 car in the fall here, but blew up early. Did not get a lot of laps.
No, the way Larson described it, he says we started blowing up on the pace lap. It wasn't a great outing.
Yeah, I was a little worried about Kyle Larson today because he likes to ride the high line. I told him, son, you're going to be in trouble here. And I've never seen anybody run the high line at Martinsville. Not his high line.
Well, our leaders just about got in trouble with David Reagan in that 34 car, but there goes Kenseth in the 20 to the bottom, takes it away from Ambrose.
But see, that's Ambrose. And then now that once you move up a little bit, lose your forward bite off of 2 over there, here comes Jimmy Johnson. But that was smart on Marcus's part.
And whoa, Logano, Ambrose, Johnson.
Middle here, there you go, come on, whoa, whoa, whoa.
They all got together as they wadded up in turn 4.
Well, Marcus got a little frustrated. He was losing spots, and he cut down in front of Joey Logano. That didn't work out too good.
Now let's have a look. Here comes Joey trying to come in and cover the spot.
Doors open, doors open, doors open. Doors closing. And Jimmy Johnson,
wow,
he can't quite get going off of the corner. And here comes the rest of the crowd.
That door about got knocked off its hinges, Darrell.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 88 and Kurt Busch in the 41. They had to go to the high side in a hurry.
So now the fight's for 2nd. Matt Kenseth has yarded these 2 by half a straightaway. And separating that group from the leader is Jimmy Johnson in the 48, Matt.
My concern in the 48 pit, the over-the-wall guys putting their helmets on. Jimmy told the team that he has a severe tire rub. You can see the smoke several times as he went by. They're ready in case he has to hit pit road early.
Yeah, Matt, it looks like the left rear quarter panel, the back side of it, you can see the crease. It looks like it's folded in on that left rear tire.
But I don't call that severe. I mean, it is rubbing, but it's not smoking all the way around the track. So I don't know if that's severe or not. But there's some action right here, boys.
Kurt Busch to the outside was trying to pass Ryan Newman in the 31, but he may lose his position to Eric Almirola in the 4. Oh, spin turn 2. Jamie McMurray.
Oh, no.
Got dumped by Dale Jr. What happened there?
Oh, my gosh. And he slammed the wall. Looked like it Dale Earnhardt Jr. got into the one car of Jamie McMurray, and boy, did McMurray slam that wall.
Boy, that was a hard hit.
Well, McMurray tried to get, you know how you stay in the gas and try to do a 360? He tried to stay in the gas and get the thing to spin all the way around, and it shot into the wall. That thing is killed.
6th caution of the day at lap 200. Heavy damage. Let's look at a replay, Darrell.
See the right front, looks like a tie rod's broken or something, but you see right here, Jamie's come down a little bit here in front of Dale Jr., but plenty of room, should not make contact. But right there, Jr. got into the left rear, cut the left rear tire down, and around went McMurray, and he hammered that outside wall. You can see the left rear tire was coming off the wheel there when Jr. got into it and cut it down.
Let's ride through this with Kevin Harvick, who was right behind Jr.
I mean, not taking up for Dale Jr., but the one car's out there just a little bit. Junior's on the bottom, and when you come off turn 2 over there, it's easy to make that contact.
It didn't look like Dale Earnhardt Jr. could go any lower than he was. He was against that curve.
All right, McMurray has taken his car to the garage for extensive repair. Here's Kristen.
Mike, A.J. Allmendinger still running in the top 5. Now, on the last stop, they did not make any adjustments, but 100 laps ago, they went down on the track bar. A.J. liked that change. He asked for more of it, so that's the change expected on the 47. Matt?
The 20 team and Jason Ratcliffe, the crew chief, made some changes on the previous stop. It did help the 20 machine of Matt Kenseth. Still might go in that same direction. Meanwhile, the 48 of Jimmie Johnson, we showed you on the screen the body damage. They're going to pull that out of the left rear. He liked the direction that they were going. He had good drive off, Steve, that last run.
And Matt, Marcus Ambrose in the 9. They're going to pull that right front fender out. They're a little concerned about Rub, or actually the left front fender, excuse me. Joey Logano and Ambrose both looking for more drive off the corner. Similar issue.
Matt Kenseth is first out of the pits, followed by Logano, Johnson, and Ambrose. Brian Vickers picks up 4 spots.
Good stop for that 55 team.
Well, a tough break for Jamie McMurray, who's only had 1 finish outside the top 15 all season, and that's where he was caught up in a crash at Bristol. 6th caution flag of the day, where things happen quickly. Martinsville.
I don't. The interesting
Ready for
thing
the
about
restart
the
here as we come out of turn number 4. Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano, Jimmie Johnson, Marcus Ambrose, Brian Vickers is up there, along with Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick, and A.J. Allmendinger.
The team that's been doing a really nice job, and I've been keeping an eye on them, is that 20 car, Matt Kenseth. They had trouble with that car early on, but as this track changes, they're making the right changes to complement the track and the car, and he's out front.
Vickers and Harvick going to gain ground on the inside as Biffle looks to get in line, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. inside covers that spot. 7th place.
Yeah, Greg Biffle in the 16, he just continues to lose spot on the top side. Tried to squeeze down in front of Allmendinger in the 47, won't work.
And you know he's got to be getting frustrated. I mean, he had a car that was marching to the lead, and he's been, ever since the caution or 2 ago, he's been having trouble with that car.
So Matt Kenseth at 210 laps is your leader.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by your next truck, Ford F-150.
290 laps to go at Martinsville. Jamie McMurray sidelined into turn 2 wall on that last caution. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, disappointing day for McMurray back here in the garage. You're looking over the damage. Walk us through what took place in the corner.
I really don't know. There was a lap car in front of us, kind of jumbled up the pack. And I thought the 88 would be a little bit more patient with me as you're just trying to get through. It's really hard on TV to understand how slick it is. The tires after 15 or 20 laps just kind of on edge, and he just, he barely got into me, and you hope that when that happens, they get off of you, and he didn't. And I went around and I got into the wall pretty hard. So I don't know if they'll be able to fix it, but had a really good run again. Had a great McDonald Chevy. Just unfortunate to end that way.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
You heard Jamie talk about the tires. About 20 laps they give up. They're starting to wear out. Listen, guys, this is not the same race car we had last year. We saw this last week, and we see a lot of action here on the track between Brian Vickers and Matt Kenseth right there with Kevin Harvick lurking and there's Dale Jr. But we got a different race car, Larry, and I think the tires from last year, if we're going places where we're not changing the tire, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I think we got to do some serious tire testing with this car that we have now.
Yeah, you look, though, at Matt Kenseth in this 20 car. He's like Greg Biffle was a while ago. He's trapped on the outside. He can't get down to the bottom.
And they just keep coming. Allmendinger came in to cover the spot behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now behind Allmendinger, who's side by side with Kenseth, who was leading this race just 3 laps ago. Now Eric Almirola pulls up to Allmendinger's bumper, and again Matt Kenseth is not going to be able to get in line.
You can't take a chance on cutting down. It's better to lose spots than it is to hit the wall. And that's really what you're faced with when you get hung up on the outside like that.
Left of your screen, Dale Jr. moves inside of Brian Vickers. That's going to move the 88 up into the top 5. And Allmendinger follows suit once again.
It's like we have some drivers that have a good short run car, and we have drivers that have a good long run car. And I think after about that 20 laps, that's when we start seeing the coming and the going.
But we only have one car that has both. That's at 48. He's pretty, he's good on the restarts. He hangs in there pretty good on the long run. That car's just like always when we come here. Trouble turn 4, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Alex Bowman's around and up against the fence in turn 4, and that brings out the caution for the 7th time. Bowman was the race's highest qualified rookie, and he'd been in quite a battle with Austin Dillon and Kyle Larson, along with Ryan Truex. He'd just gotten back on the lead lap, gotten the free pass, but his Dr. Pepper Toyota, which was 25th, is now torn up.
And Larry made this observation. While the caution's out there, 23, Alex Bowman backed up in the fence. Let's see what happened to him here. I think he gets a little help from,
no.
Is that the 38 again?
It is, but did he do that, or did Bowman get loose getting in, Darrell? I'm not sure from that angle. Was there contact, you think?
I think it just looked like maybe Gilliland overdrove the corner and got into the back of Mr. Bowman here.
Earlier, Gilliland caused the caution at lap 170 by turning Casey Mears around.
One of the things that Larry and I have been noticing about these cars, remember how when we come up here in the past, we talk about the rocking chair? The car would come up in the front on acceleration and then down in the front and the back would come up a little bit. We're not seeing that rocking motion. What we're seeing is these cars are sliding. They're going into the corner like a sled, and they're using up more tire than what we have here in the past.
Now, just prior to that, watch teammates Carl Edwards in the 99 and Greg Biffle in the 16.
Once again, guys, you're up to the number on the door there. You see the 99 on the yellow line. You got to give that guy a little respect and a little bit of room.
That was the bug on Clint Boyer's bumpers view.
Get low, come on.
Pits are open. Dale Earnhardt Jr. stayed out, Matt.
Mike, his teammate, the 48, Jimmy Johnson, he hit pit road. So this is the best the race car has been all race long. Give me a little bit more of what you did last time, and that's a chassis adjustment in the right rear. Steve.
Joey Logano stops at his pit stall, Matt. He said his car is pretty decent. He said he's finally got good balance to that 22 car. The 9 car says no forward bite, but the 22 said we're pretty decent.
I just don't like staying out. I don't care what the situation is. Everybody comes. You're sitting out there on used tires. Hello.
So staying out were Dale Earnhardt Jr., A.J. Allmendinger, and Kurt Busch.
And I was a little surprised we maybe didn't see a few more try it because they only had 11 laps on their tires.
Well, let's go to Chris Myers and get a recap.
All right, Mike, we haven't had a pole sitter win in the last 11 races, and when they waved the green flag today, Kyle Busch sitting on the pole and coming off his win in California. He did lead 22 laps, but not in the top 20, and then trouble for Brad Keselowski in the pits.
Yeah, we talk about how tight this pit road is, Brad Keselowski got squeezed between two cars, tore up his front end. He blamed it all on Kurt Busch, and he's showing his displeasure with Kurt there. I'm really impressed with Kurt, though. He's able to overcome that and raced up into the top 5.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. started 26th, worked his way up into the top 5, and had some problems there with Jamie McMurray, who had come in on a roll. We heard Matt Kenseth saying moments ago the outside lane is full of marbles here. Should they clean the track, or what effect is that having?
Well, that's what you get at Martinsville, as though tires wear and those marbles just get up in the outside lane. And if you get 1 inch too wide, Chris, it just goes sliding. So the strategy here is really interesting to me. I love the fact that for us watching the race, we get to see guys stay out on some older tires, and new tires are in the back of the pack. It'll be really cool to watch to see how good the guy on the older tires are able to hang in there.
We've had 15 lead changes. Junior is out in front right now. Hey, April 16th, the all-new season of The Ultimate Fighter begins. Bitter rivals take over to coach the next generation of UFC fighters. That's kind of interesting. It's The Ultimate Fighter, Team Edgar versus Team Penn. It's April 16th. You'll see it on Fox Sports 1. Also streaming live on Fox Sports Go. To find your channel, go to foxsports1.com today and enjoy some UFC fighting.
I was one nickname away from being a UFC fighter.
I understand that. All right, how about the performance? Kurt Busch, impressive, up to 3rd. Dale Earnhardt Jr. currently 1st. Let's head back upstairs to Mike Joy.
Thanks, Chris. We're under caution at lap 223. Tony Stewart too fast entering the pits, so that will be a penalty. And now let's go down to Matt for today's Subway Fresh Take.
A great run from 26 to the top 5, and Stevie, to explain the strategy of keeping him out on the older tires. Good timing?
Yeah, well, we've only run 11 laps. I was hoping we'd get 5 or 6 to stay out. We only got a couple, so it might hurt us in the end. But, you know, some of these races you got to kind of flip-flop, see if you can get up there. If it only runs 15 or 20 and the caution comes out, we'll be in good shape. If it runs long, it's probably going to hurt, but still early in the race.
Remember, they've already got their win. He said after they won Daytona, they're going to gamble and just try to go for wins.
Remember, they gambled at Phoenix and Las Vegas, ended up with 2 second-place finishes.
Steve Letart's first win as a crew chief came right here in 2005. It was only his 6th race on top of the pit box, and he guided Jeff Gordon to a win.
And we're coming up, we're 224, we're coming to 225. We're almost halfway in this race. Better kind of have your game plan figured out once we get past 250.
Ready to restart. And we're back under green. Earnhardt, half a car length ahead of Allmendinger, into the corner. Kurt Busch on the inside, Logano on the outside, then Ambrose.
How about that 47 car, guys?
2nd place, trying to tie or better his career best finish, which came right here.
Now, all the other drivers that pitted took 4 fresh tires, which would include Joey Logano in the 22, Marcus Ambrose in the 9.
Fellas, I'm proud of Kurt Busch. You heard that outburst on the radio. We're done. We're screwed. Our day is over. Well, over means at halfway, he is in 3rd place fighting for the lead. How about that?
And Mike, that's the thing he's been working on. His people around him have been working on with him. You got to let it go. You can't linger on one bad accident or one bad problem. You got to let it go, and we got a lot of race ahead of us.
Now, right behind him is Ambrose, and then Jimmy Johnson fights his way underneath Logano and moves up to 5th.
Yeah, Joey Logano in his 22 car, he keeps trying to find his way back to the bottom. Now you see Brian Vickers in the 55. He's trying to take the spot away.
The guy on the bottom is driving as hard as he can to keep you on the outside. The guy on the outside is driving as hard as he can, trying to get back down in line, and you end up running side by side for a lot of laps.
Brian Vickers alongside Logano now, Krista.
Yeah, and for a while there between teammates, Brian Vickers, the 55, and Clint Bowyer, the 15, it was a tale of 2 different teams. The 55 was on the move up while the 15 was on the way down. The 15 has come back a little bit, but for Brian Vickers, he said he just needs help on drive off. They had a great stop back on lap 202. Drive off, though, is what he needs.
Well, while Vickers moves to 6th, Jimmy Johnson is in a rush to the front. He just got under Ambrose for 4th. Now he's stalking Kurt Busch. He is coming hard at turn 3.
Oh, yeah, those tires. His tires against these guys in front of him, no contest.
Caution, debris. There's a piece of junk in turn number 1. Caution out.
This is not what Steve Letarte and Dale Earnhardt Jr. wanted to see. They wanted to see a little bit longer run than this, because now it puts them in a bit of a box.
Yeah, if they come in now, Larry, they're going to restart back here in the 20s. back in a heavy traffic where we've seen time and time again that chain reaction where you get your car torn up.
Yeah, because the drivers that changed 4 tires the last caution, they only have 6 laps on theirs now.
They're good to go. Letard's just about got to stay out. If we think track position is important, and we know it is, you just about got to stay out and take your licks.
And it was Dale Jr., who Larry quoted at the top of the day, who said, you battle all day for track position. You got to take some chances to maintain it, right?
Well, and we saw what happened to his teammate Jeff Gordon in the 24, and they elected to come to pit road.
Yeah, we're going to stay out again there, buddy.
There you go. When almost everyone else pitted, and it puts you back in the storm.
That wasn't long enough. We needed like 20. That's not going to draw enough, so just stay out there.
My favorite Junior quote, he said, I grew up in a house full of grandfather clocks. I'd sure like to have one of my own.
Good point. Steve Letard already has a win this year, the Daytona 500. It's already been a memorable season, but they've got a lot they want to accomplish this year together.
We got a few takers, though. It looks like Kevin Harvick in that 4 car back in about 12th position. He and Matt Kenseth, they've hit pit road.
Casey Kane will be the free pass car on this, the 8th caution flag of the afternoon. We're almost to halfway, just 17 more laps.
The thing I've seen about Kevin Harvick and Matt Kenseth, both those guys, they're good on the shorter runs. They haven't been very good on the longer runs, so it makes sense. Maybe they want to come in, work on their cars, and see if they can help them.
Kenseth was dropping like a rock after that restart right there. I see why he pitted.
Harvick was 13th, Kenseth was 14th, and Tony Stewart, who's also pitted along with Ricky Stenhouse. Stewart was at the back after serving that penalty for too fast on pit road.
Looks like Casey Kane is going to get the free pass. It's good news for him because they have struggled all day long.
We're closing in on halfway. That'll put 27 drivers on the lead lap.
And buddy, and I mean this, Larry, when you get to halfway, you got to kind of know what your next, you got to plan out your next few stops. You can't be coming down pit road just after that. You got to come down when you know it's got to be planned.
But we're definitely, now that we're having these cautions come fairly often, we're definitely seeing a lot of different strategies start happening.
Yeah, the longest green flag today, only 56 laps. We asked you to show us how you get ready for race day. Here's a KFC social media pit stop. Getting some pre-race lunch watching NASCAR. Is she in the bucket? Is that allowed? Is that? I guess it is.
We just showed after all the chicken's gone.
Hey, she loves her KFC.
How about that? 266 laps to go here at Martinsville. Dale Jr., A.J. Allmendinger, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Marcus Ambrose, Brian Vickers.
I just think if I'm the 88 car, I know he couldn't come in, and he was in a box. He couldn't come in, but this is the worst thing that could happen to them.
All of the first 3 cars, Darrell, stayed out on the last caution flag and this caution flag.
You know, that old saying, you made your bed, you're going to have to lay in it. I just don't know how this is going to work out. If we go green very long, and the longer we go into the race, the more long green flag runs we have.
This season, Saturday baseball comes to Fox Sports 1. It all starts Saturday with a doubleheader. Twins, Indians, Giants, Dodgers on Fox Sports 1. Your home for baseball every Saturday. To find Fox Sports 1 on your cable or satellite provider, go to foxsports1.com today. Steve?
It might be problems for the 4-car of Kevin Harvick. In fact, listening to crew chief Rodney Childers, they're saying leave the tire tight. I think a chain came unattached that helps connect it to the chassis.
Steve, things like this, they've been plaguing this 4-car all year long. I know they got the win at Phoenix, but their last 3 races outside the top 30 with issues like hubs and everything else.
It's just new car blue, or new team blues, Larry. You got a lot of new people in place. Rodney Childers put this team together over the winter, and you're just going to have these, I call them miscommunications. The chain was probably too short, and it broke it on a pit stop. The chain to hose the rear end up.
Coming off the worst 3-race stretch of his career, Harvick restarts at the back. Hey, Allmendinger got a good jump on Dale Jr. down into turn number 1. Ahead by a nose, even, and Jr. pulls away in 2. Kurt Busch to the inside of the dinger. Ambrose to follow.
Yeah, the 47 car is in big trouble on that outside and on those old tires.
And whatever was wrong with Harvick is not fixed, we're told.
Well, it won't hurt the car. It'll hurt him on a pit stop. When you jack the car up, the wheel will keep coming down until the shock catches it.
Now, Allmendinger, who started on the outside on worn tires, backing up, not unexpected as he and Brian Vickers battle into the corner. But what about Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kurt Busch on worn tires in front of Ambrose, Johnson, and the rest?
Well, the good news for them, they restarted on the inside. That was a plus for them.
Exactly.
Krista?
And Mike, what Darrell was talking about you made your bet, now you just have to lie in it. That's exactly what Allmendinger's crew chief Brian Burns talked about. And AJ said, well, I didn't really like that plan of staying out anyway, because now with these old tires, I'm just going to get eaten alive.
Yeah, he likes it a lot less now.
Well, his crew chief maybe didn't make the right call, but Allmendinger did.
Jimmy Johnson inside, Marcus Ambrose for third. And Logano and Vickers line up behind him. So right now Johnson is the first car in the race on new tires, sitting third.
And see, this is where Jimmy Johnson, he can be patient. They're going to come to him. He knows that. Their tires are not as good as his, so he doesn't have to hurry. He doesn't have to worry about Kurt Busch maybe going up here, forcing that 88 up out of the way and open the door for Jimmy to come right with him.
So Kurt Busch grabs the lead from Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And that's all Jimmy Johnson had to do. Just wait.
Matt?
Mike, more bad news for the competition. Johnson told Chad Canales that the car started out much tighter on that run, and he expects it to be much better as this run progresses.
He's closing in on race leader Kurt Busch right now. Busch, Johnson, Earnhardt, Logano, Vickers.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by Diet Dew, the only diet with dew in it. Caution is out, the 9th caution of this race as we have hit lap 250 of 500 at Martinsville, Virginia, as we welcome you back to NASCAR on Fox. Let's take a look, Michael Waltrip, at what brought out the caution.
Ryan Truex was battling hard with Cole Witt, I believe, Chris, and it looked like the two got together. And look, that car hard into the outside wall, even popped the right front corner up off the ground.
We've already had a number of lead changes, in fact, 20 so far today. 12 in this race for all of last year.
I mean, this has just been an entertaining race, and we're seeing pit strategy now. A couple of guys stayed out earlier. Will they all pit now? It looks like it, Chris.
Let's check in with Krista Voda.
Thanks, Chris. Brian Vickers is having a great run. He talked about drive off, needing that on the last stop. Right now, he said he's just a little bit concerned on these long runs. He gets a little bit loose in. Brian Vickers' team says, we'll take care of you. Matt?
Meanwhile, a little concern in Jimmy Johnson's voice over that last run. He said the car did not begin to free up, just kept getting tighter. So this is a great time to pit. Meanwhile, Dale Jr., he needs a little more help on exit. He'd like to be able to get back in the throttle a little bit quicker. And the 41 of Kurt Busch, who grabbed the lead just for a short time, no changes he wanted on that machine, Steve.
Matt, Joey Logano said that the center is pretty good, but it's a common refrain. He just needs help on exit, getting off the corners. But he says that center is good. They're going to get 4 tires on the 22.
Kevin Harvick and Matt Kenseth stayed out.
That's what we're looking for, guys mixing it up. We know those guys have been on the pit road since the leaders had, so it makes a little bit of sense to try to grab some track position. Chris, I think staying out on these older tires will work better and better as we get more and more rubber on the track going late into this race. So we'll see if Matt can hold up to the pressure of the new tires like we saw Dale Jr. do so well for so long.
Matt Kenseth led at the 200 lap mark, and at the 100 lap mark was Jimmy Johnson, who has led this race 6 different times. Time now for the Fox Sports 1 mid-race report. We've already had more lead changes today than all of last year, and a couple of champions of the sport went at it back and forth on the track after Brad Keselowski accused Kurt Busch of causing some damage to his car. But Darrell, who are you keeping an eye on here in the second half?
Chris, it's almost too easy. I mean, I'm going to take the 48. It's an obvious choice. He's got the best car on the short and the long run. 48's the guy that's going to win this race.
I tell you what, guys, I've been as confused as I've ever been about who's the favorite for this race. Yeah, Jimmy's been good, but I like this guy. Kurt Busch has been good on older tires. He's good on new tires. Heck, he was even good when Brad Keselowski had his tires on top of him. So look for Kurt Busch to be the guy to watch in the second half.
Well, Michael, you maybe don't think about Joey Logano. You don't even think about a Ford driver when we come to Martinsville, but he qualified third. He's been fast all weekend. Just maybe a Ford driver gets the victory lane here for the first time since 2002. Steve.
Well, Larry, it's been an emotional week for Richard Petty Motorsports, of course, with the passing of the matriarch, Linda Petty. Listening to Eric Almirola in that famous number 43, he says, I get looser and looser. He's been trying to stay in the top 10 all afternoon, but he said, I'm really tight in the center. So, again, loose off the issue for Eric Almirola.
Steve, at the halfway lap, Matt Kenseth was 14th in 4 of the last 7 Martinsville races. The eventual winner was 14th or worse at halfway. He's now quick out of the pits, and he's rebounded to the front, Chris.
Thanks, Mike. Bad news for the mid-race leader, at least so far this year. The driver who's led at the halfway point has finished 24th or worse in 4 of the 5 races. Only Harvick and Phoenix went on to win after leading. We're going to see maybe the 6th different winner to start the race this season, or to win the race this season, as we wrap up our Fox Sports 1 mid-race report. And we're glad you're watching NASCAR and Fox live from Martinsville. Let's head back upstairs to Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. 5 laps past halfway. Here's your Keystone race summary. Matt Kenseth, after pit stops, is now the leader. The first of 27 lead lap cars. We've had 22 lead changes in just half the race. The race record is 31. We're finishing up the 9th caution of the day. We've run 58 laps under the yellow flag.
Now, Matt Kenseth and Tony Stewart, they have 12 laps on their tires. The reason Kevin Harvick and the 4 stayed out the first time was to give them as much time to fix that rear end chain. He was real close to the pace car before he hit pit road.
Yeah, that's a real hindrance. I mean, you can't jack the car up high enough to get that left rear wheel off the ground unless you have that chain on there to hold the rear end once the car goes up in the air.
Casey Mears got the free pass. If you joined us late, Brad Keselowski, a pit road crash early. He's 31 laps down. David Stremme 54 behind. Jamie McMurray in the garage. Parker Kligerman, lots of damage, many laps down.
Well, smoke didn't get going too good on that restart, and that allowed Matt Kenseth to go down into turn 1 uncontested.
Earnhardt outside of Stewart. And now Jimmie Johnson trying to make a pass on the high side. Haven't seen him try to do much of that today.
No, but he knows he's got better tires than those guys in front of him, and he's got a bit of an advantage here that he might be able to get by those guys on the outside if he chooses to.
From Clint Boyer's car, looking ahead to Jimmie Johnson in 4th. Right behind them, side by side, Kyle Larson and Kurt Busch battle.
But how about that rookie Kyle Larson? A top 10 finish at Bristol, 2nd place at Auto Club Speedway. Here he is just outside the top 5 at Martinsville.
I talked to him Friday, and he said, hey, I'm just here to learn.
You're going to be talking about him a lot this year,
Yes,
Larry.
we will.
Looks like that Dale Jr. is going to try to force his way into the lead here. Coming off turn 4, got under Matt Kenseth, and Matt lets him go.
That strategy has paid off, what Steve Letarte did, because he caught the cautions just right, and everyone else pitted when they pitted for 4 tires for the most part.
Wonder if he studied the trends.
The trends will never let you down.
So now it's Stewart on the outside as Larson goes by into the top 5 for the first time today. And Brian Vickers dive bombs turn number 1, while at 2nd place, Jimmie Johnson back to the bottom, his favorite passing lane, and he has the measure of Matt Kenseth this time.
I'm just loving the way Jimmie Johnson's running this race. He's being so patient with the competition, taking care of his car. I like the job Jimmie Johnson's doing today.
Not often you see a rookie in the top 5 at Martinsville, but there is Kyle Larson, Krista.
And Mike, what's so impressive is his cool, calm demeanor. Remember back on lap 5, he was caught up a little bit in that incident. He had a little bit of a wrinkle on the left rear of the car. Really the only issue he's been talking about since then is that his car needed to be continued to tighten up. It was a little bit loose under throttle. When I talked to him this weekend, he said, I'm just not comfortable here. But his level of comfort, well, it's there right now.
But the thing about this young man is he's gaining the respect of these other drivers. We got a battle for the lead. Here goes Johnson by Dale Jr. for the lead. Looks like the 15 is going to look under Matt Kenseth here in turns 1 and 2. Got the inside. Looks like the 15 is going somewhere. And here comes that rookie.
First and third change hands on this lap. Johnson to the lead. Bowyer to third. Lots of battles further back as you see Almirola, Ambrose, and Menard fighting for 11th. And Ryan Newman 14th and 15th with his old boss Tony Stewart. Jeff Gordon comes back into play.
Once you get into the second half of the race, the urgency picks up just a little wee bit.
Yeah, I don't think Tony Stewart in that 14 had quite a good enough car to stay out on 12-lap tires.
I don't think so either, Larry. But what I mean by that, Mike, is where you might have given a guy a break or where you maybe not, is that you're going to get more and more and more aggressive as these laps start to wind down.
Steve?
Mike, you see Joey Logano, there was trouble for him on that last pit stop. The right front fender was damaged, and they had a hard time getting the tire off to change. He restarted in the 20th position.
And that's the other thing you cannot have happen in the second half of the race. You can have that happen and overcome it in the first half, getting to the point where you can't now.
6th place, and Carl Edwards moves up on Matt Kenseth.
You know, Chris asked me in the pre-race show, could Carl Edwards be the short track king? I said, yeah, but you got to win at Martinsville to be the king. Bristol, Richmond, these other short tracks, yeah, but you got to own it all.
And the king, Richard Petty, has won at Martinsville, what, 15 times?
15 times.
And his car with Eric Almirola aboard, challenging for the top 10. Kyle Busch just ahead. Kyle back in the top 10, up to 8th position.
But they're just driving by Matt Kenseth like he's tied. I think he is in the same boat as Tony Stewart, just not quite good enough car to stay out even on 12-lap tires.
And Kenseth's been like that all day. The pit crew has been saving him. McCaushey's have been saving him, but he hadn't had a very good car over the long haul.
This race has had more comers and goers than a bank of elevators at a skyscraper.
That was good, Mike. I like that.
5th straight race at Martinsville that Jimmie Johnson has led 100 laps or more.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by triple filtered Keystone Light. Always smooth.
220 laps to go. Jimmie Johnson leading by 0.6 of a second. In his Martinsville career, he's led over 100 laps 13 times, including the last 5 races in a row. And Clint Bowyer is now the 2nd place car. Krista?
Back on lap 171, Mike, Clint Bowyer described his car as terrible, but they just needed a little time. When I spoke with Brian Patty, his crew chief, he talked about the fact that because there was no truck race before this race like normal, they didn't have that in their notebook to know how tires were going to wear or how the rubber was going to lay down. So he said, once we get settled in, once we make our adjustments, we know we're going to be, quote, pretty good.
And that's a good point, Krista. The trucks were rained out yesterday, and that truck race will be held about 30 minutes after the conclusion of our race, and it'll be live over on Fox Sports 1.
And that 15 is getting ready to take the lead here in a second.
A.J. Allmendinger, Ricky Stenhouse, Casey Kane all battling back there for 17th. And here comes Kevin Harvick in the 4. Up front, to the front, goes Clint Bowyer.
Where he's been stronger than Jimmie Johnson over the last few laps, his car rolls the center better, and he's able to put that power down.
Jimmy's loose in right now, Larry. I've been watching the back of his car. As he goes into turn 1, the back swings out just a little bit. Still got good forward bite off, but a little loose in.
You've been watching that battle between Allmendinger and Stenhouse and Kane, and there was contact between the 17 and 47. Pretty significant.
It wouldn't take much for something to just go all haywire right here with this group.
Yep, but now they're up on the high side there, and it looks like they're going to get freight trained.
Ah, I like this shot. Hello. Excuse me.
That's from Stenhouse. Here comes Justin Allgaier in the 51 to be part of that battle.
Whole new meaning to close quarters right there.
Yep. And then Allmendinger. Now there's the contact earlier between those two as Stenhouse slid up a bit. That's casual contact there.
You got to be careful because that'll cut a tire down in a heartbeat.
I tell you, that 47 and 51, they're going at it pretty hard, right? Going into turn one. Allmendinger got into the back of the 51, got him sideways, and that's how he got under him.
And for the lead, Clint Bowyer eases it down the straightaway, and Johnson powers around the outside.
But, you know, that's what I see with some of these cars. Mike, look how fast that Clint Bowyer caught Jimmie Johnson. But the tires go off. If you run too hard, you wear your tires out.
Tell you what else, Jimmie Johnson in that 48, our leader's caught, is a lot of lap traffic at the back of the field.
Things are going to get busy here as they come off turn number 4. We'll let Jimmy work traffic as you can slide your volume control, push the remote, or if you still have a volume knob, just crank it up.
He's rubbing people the wrong way. .206 laps to go, and look who Jimmie Johnson has all but caught as he continues to lap cars. The last car on the lead lap right now, Matt Kenseth.
And not far from him, Tony Stewart in the 14. Remember, Kenseth and Stewart stayed out the last time, and they have truly paid the price here on this long run.
If they had studied the trends, and when I talk about halfway and how things change, normally from halfway, sometime in there we get a long 100-lap run that gets us up into the 400, so 410 or so laps before we have another caution. Bad timing on staying out.
Yeah, you're right, Darrell. The average length of the longest green run in the last 10 spring races is 89 laps, and normally this is the time of the race that it happens.
Exactly.
When we restarted about lap 255, Matt Kenseth was the leader, and he's now about to go a lap down. He is 27th. How about his teammate Denny Hamlin, who's back up in the top 10, Steve?
Mike, he is indeed inside the top 10, but he might have a bit of a problem. His team is telling him that he has a windshield tear-off covering his left front brake duct. It's not an issue now, but they're telling him to take it easy on his brakes if he can.
Yeah, you can see it right there. Right there, you can see it. And yeah, the air going in to cool these brakes is about as important as the air going in to cool the radiator here at a place like Martinsville.
And we've had quite a bit of debris blowing around today because it's so windy. I mean, the wind is still howling pretty good out there, and it's blowing a lot of trash around.
And no, they're not all hot dog wrappers. Just maybe half.
If the door was open up here, it would be, though.
300 laps complete next time by. Boy, Ryan Truex has had a tough day, and David Stremme, both of them in turn 2, and Truex, he's trying to find a gap.
Well, he
to
got
get to pit road. Can't. Gets going though.
He got all those marbles on his tires, Mike, and the car will not turn until he gets down in the groove and gets it buffed off.
He and Stremme had the same problem,
thing.
And they had contact together a little bit earlier.
You know, we're talking a lot about brake cooling and a driver using the brakes here about 1,000 times. Obviously, the brake system is important, but I think Jeff Hammond at our virtual car can show us how important the cooling is and how they utilize it.
Let's talk brakes, more specifically cooling brakes. And I'm not talking about Martinsville and Richmond. I'm talking about everywhere. Teams have realized they've got to be able to cool their brakes. At speeds over 200 miles an hour, a mile and a half, they need to cool them. You take a look at this package that they've got around this brake caliper currently to be able to cool not only the rotor, which sometimes goes to 1,000 degrees, but also the brake pads. All of this is an effort to not only protect the brakes, but also protect the bead of the tire, which helps protect the driver. Brakes are always important.
And I think that is the most important thing. The brakes, we don't hear of brake failure anymore, but when we get into those long green runs like we're into now, especially a driver that has a car that's not handling well, that becomes the weak link. The bead that seals the tire to the rim, it just cooks it.
Yeah, if you look at the size of the brake package, up inside, every thousandth of an inch inside these wheels is full of brake calipers and brake ducts. I mean, there's no room for any more brake than what we have.
There's Matt Kenseth in the 20. He's gone a lap down to Jimmy Johnson. And for Denny Hamlin, that piece of windshield tear-off, you see it's gone from the brake duct, so he got close enough to another car for a change in the air pressure to get rid of that. Now, the good news for Matt Kenseth, there are only 3 cars 1 lap down right now. He and Martin Truex and David Gilliland. So if a caution came out, and it darn near did for Alex Bowman there, had that caution come out, Kenseth would have got the free pass. But he's got to stay close to Jimmy Johnson to make sure Jimmy doesn't keep lapping cars and putting more cars 1 lap down to be in that position. I think Denny Hamlin got kind of stuck in that scrum in the backstretch here.
Checking up here, stacking up. Inside 9, inside, get high. Come on, come on, come on. Top of 3, top of 3, 2 wide, now 2 wide.
Yeah, when you're on the outside like Hamlin is, you got to really watch.
And Ambrose in that 9, he's going to make her 3 wide coming off the corner.
Yeah, with Denny up on the outside, if he got a little higher, he gets that build-up rubber on his tires, and he would have been in trouble. But he tread the line there and made it.
Boy, with Bowman fighting to get to the pits, that was a bold move by Almirola and Marcus Ambrose in front of the 43 to go to the inside when a car's trying to get down to that pit entrance. Paid off, though.
And you know the problem that Matt Kenseth in this 20 car has, one, we're about 40 laps away from when he would have to make a pit stop. But the biggest problem is on this long run, Jimmy Johnson just keeps putting other drivers a lap down, and that's putting him where he's not in position for the free pass.
And you see what's happened to him since that last restart.
Looks like
about 60 laps ago.
Portfolio.
And now Kenseth, boy, was real slow in turn 2 there.
The longer he goes, he gets up out of the groove. Gets that again. He gets the rubber buildup on his tires, and then it takes for a little bit of time to get it off.
Kevin Harvick right up the rear bumper of rookie Kyle Larson.
And I got to tell you, Larry, I've watched all these cars, and particularly going into turn 1 where I got a great view. Nobody's car is handling good. No. Even our leader, Jimmy Johnson, his car is sliding the rear end out as he goes in the corner.
Kevin Harvick just keeps marching his way back toward the top 10 in that 4 car. He takes the 11th spot away from Kyle Larson at 42. Our 2 rookies battling out right there for 11th. Austin Dillon in the 3, Larson in the 42.
I believe, Larry, there's just going to be a lot of guys right now that we're going to end up with some tire issues here because I think they're going to wear them out on this long green run.
313 laps complete. The last caution was more than 60 laps ago. It's the longest stretch of green flag racing today. Caution is out for the 10th time today. Joe Nemechek slammed the wall in turn number 3. And here's what happened on pit stops for the leaders.
Man, I tell you what, Larry, pit selection on this little racetrack and this pit road makes switch a huge difference. Watch that 99 car.
Once he gets into his segment, he can speed up. He can't get busted for speeding. No strategy here, though. Every driver on the lead lap, 4 fresh Goodyear tires.
Everyone on the lead lap did stop here at lap 317. for 4 tires and whatever adjustments were needed. Boy, close call for Carl coming out right behind Landon Castle coming in. But close calls are a way of life here at Martinsville. So here's how they came off pit road. Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer, Carl Edwards, Dale Jr., Brian Vickers, and Greg Biffle.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Subway Restaurants, introducing the new crispy cheesy Flatizza from Subway. Now get 2 for $5. Subway, eat fresh.
Let's show you why we're under caution, which came out 4 laps ago at lap 316. Joe Nemechek in the 66 sailed off into turn number 3.
Oh yeah, he slams it, and it's almost it's like maybe brake failure. We saw something like that similar here. Remember a couple years ago with Martin Truex Jr. going off in that corner.
Tony Stewart gets the free pass. He was the first car 1 lap down. Let's recap pit stops, beginning with Matt.
Mike, DW is exactly right. Jimmy Johnson saying his car is going away. It's way too free on entry and exit, but Chad Canals told him, if I fix your entry and exit, I'll hurt your center, but they backed up 1 entire adjustment on that 48 machine. Meanwhile, the 99, he's been back and forth, both tight and free. They made a chassis adjustment on him. He was way too free that last run. Krista.
Before that caution, Clint Boyer concerned about his left rear giving up. Crew Chief Brian Patty said the only thing we did, air pressure. Would you like that again? Clint said yes. And he said, what adjustments do you need? The driver said nothing. Steve?
Krista, Greg Biffle told crew chief Matt Pusha, he said, I feel like I've lost my edge a little bit. I'm chattering the front tires. He said, I feel fast, but they made an air pressure adjustment on that number 16.
Thanks, Steve. Here's a closer look at today's race action with Sprint. Jimmy Johnson has led the most laps today. That is probably a surprise to nobody. He's led 149. Joey Logano is next. He's led less than 40. Switch now to the new Sprint family plan. Up to 10 of your friends and family get unlimited talk, text, and a gig of data for as little as $25 a month each on the Sprint network. Go to sprint.com/speed.
Seemed like I heard Biffle say something about his car chattering the tires, but whatever they did a couple of stops ago hurt his car. So whatever they did then, if they've undone, he might be back to challenging for the lead here.
Lights are out atop the Ford Fusion Hybrid that is the pace car for today's race, and it ducks onto pit road. Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer, then Carl Edwards, Dale Earnhardt Jr., then Brian Vickers with Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch, alongside Marcus Ambrose and Eric Almirola with Joey Logano. Those are your top 10 as we restart with 24 lead lap cars.
Carl Edwards in that 99 was going to make sure he wasn't going to lose contact with Jimmy Johnson, but look at the run. Boyer in the 15 gets up there in that second groove.
Well, I like what Boyer said, what they want to do to the car. I wouldn't do anything to it. I think he was perfectly right. This thing looks pretty awesome right now.
He's got to get a good jump here to try to beat Johnson down to turn 1. That's not going to happen.
No, and he made a great move right there by diving down in front of Carl Edwards. Get down on that inside and protect it.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. now comes up the outside of Boyer as Edwards looked to the inside and thought better of it.
Well, the 15 lost a little when he had to get down on the inside. He lost a little momentum, and that opened the outside up for Dale Jr. and see if he can make the pass. 3 wide going down in this corner, and Boyer knows what that feels like.
And Edwards on the bottom forces Boyer to the outside and onto the brakes. But what a move by Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Get down there, get down there, get down there.
To anticipate and jump up there to the second spot.
Yeah, you know that door is going to open, and you got to be in a position to take advantage of it.
Yeah, because if he didn't get down, it was about 15 drivers lined up to the inside.
Single file back to Biffle, who's stuck on the outside of Marcus Ambrose as they race for 11th. And here comes Allmendinger once again with the 4 of Harvick in tow, and then Kyle Busch.
Well, this has now turned into a 175 lap race.
Right.
We've been getting to this point, and you know now what you got to do.
Logano 7th. Here comes the 31. Ryan Newman on the inside of Almirola.
Yeah, remember, Joey Logano, a lot of damage to a fender, a lot of time spent on pit road, not that many laps ago, and here he's back inside the top 10.
Casey Kane to the inside now, passes Almirola. Will his teammate Marcus Ambrose let him in? Not this time.
Oh, yeah. You may not let him in, but I'm coming in.
Yeah, I think the time for favors is over, Darrell.
That's it, buddy. It's a game on now.
And Kevin Harvick in that 4, he's going to take advantage of it. You're riding with him right there. He takes that spot away.
And you can't give up spots at this point in the race. You got to hold your position at worst and try to gain at best.
Almirola finally got in line behind A.J. Allmendinger and ahead of Kyle Busch.
I want to go back to Casey Kane in that 5 car. Remember, he got damaged early in the race. He went a lap down. He got the free pass, and he has fought and clawed his way. Look at that car. The whole nose is taped up on it. He's fought and clawed his way back to the top 10.
They would tape up the back, but it doesn't have one.
When we used to run the Dogwood 500 on this weekend, the modified Sportsman doubleheader, there were 4 GM cars that they raced. Jeff Gordon inside of Greg Biffle there. They had the Chevy Nova, the Pontiac Ventura, the Buick Apollo, the Oldsmobile Omega. All those cars were the same except for the grille. After 250 laps here, Dale Earnhardt's black number 8, you couldn't tell which one it was.
No. We just put big enough bars behind the grill, and we intentionally used up the front of the car.
It's like he brought himself a case of Grill Gone, because that was the only identifying mark between those cars. Typical Martinsville. 6th place, Joey Logano. Whoa, Kane inside of Vickers. Little contact there. He didn't open the door. He just stuck his foot through it.
But that's short track racing right there. You just root, you gouge. That's where all those terms came from.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. hunting Clint Boyer now for 2nd. Excuse me, Clint Boyer just passed Earnhardt Jr. for 2nd.
And you look at Clint Boyer in that 15 car running 2nd. Yeah, I know he has not won a race here, but when you look at the last 4 races, his average finish is 2nd only to, oh, by the way, Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car.
We saw Boyer chase down Jimmy Johnson before the last caution, took the lead momentarily, but it's almost like Johnson said, oh, I just want to see how good you are. And it may happen again here.
A little further back. Boy, they just continue to jostle. That's why you have to come here and buy a ticket. You know, your television just isn't big enough for us to show you every single battle, every single lap. At this place, the action is so hot, and it's also close right in front of you.
Yeah, it's a lot of oohs and ahs here. Ooh, ah.
Kurt Busch and Carl Edwards. 4th place. Busch keeps getting close, but Carl's on a pretty good roll here, Matt.
And Kurt told his team under that last caution that the track is starting to snug up. The track temperature has gone down almost 10 degrees since the start of the race. The sun has gone as well. And Carl Edwards echoed that. He just told Jimmy Finney that my car has gotten tighter rolling the center. We're going to have to work on that.
Yeah, the track's snugging up, and the guys are snuggling up.
Yes, sir. But, Darrell, one thing I'm noticing, I'm still not seeing the concrete corners turn very black with rubber even this deep into the race.
No, Larry, because it's all up on the outside of the racetrack. It looks like they're shedding rubber off the tires and not really applying it into the track itself. We usually see those. Remember, we always see those black buildups, the little bumps that build up on the track, and we're not seeing that.
No, as you see from the bumper cam of Clint Boyer in 2nd place, that close to the race leader. Those concrete corners, they're just about as white as they started the day. They've just not taken any rubber.
And you can see that left rear tire on Jimmy Johnson's car there, how it just gripping. You see it just almost looks like it's chattering, but not quite. Watch the sidewall of the tire.
Saw a hunk of rubber right there.
Oh, no.
Oh.
What the heck?
Caution waves.
He had to have a little help to be spun out right there.
Yep. 11th caution of the day. It's for Kyle Larson. And Greg Biffle was having an issue. What was it, Steve?
Yeah, he had dropped all the way back to 21st, Mike. He said, something is wrong with my car. He said, I just can't turn it at all. They're still trying to science out and figure what is wrong with that 16 car.
Off in the distance, you'll see Kyle Larson in the Chip Ganassi Chevy. There he is.
Yeah, back there and coming off turn 2 here. Oh, no contact whatsoever right there. Matter of fact, Biffle is fortunate that he didn't get into the 42. The 42 just spun out.
They're both very fortunate. Larson was running 20th and on the lead lap. Now, I don't believe there'll be a free pass because Larson was the first car 1 lap down, and I'm mistaken. Matt Kenseth, we're told, is the free pass.
17 laps on the tires. I think pit road will be a very busy place. I think we've already seen the product of staying out.
Whoa. Carl Edwards just about got into the back of Dale Jr. coming on pit road.
And everybody but Kenseth in because he's the free pass. Here's Krista.
Clint Bowyer is in right now, and he is talking about on that last run was just needing the forward drive off. Matt?
And the 48 of Jimmy Johnson saying that, you know, he is decent on exit, but he's still wondering if they should make another adjustment. You can see a wrench going in the back window. Chassis adjustment as well for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Meanwhile, Kurt Busch and the 41, he was debating whether to make an adjustment at all, Steve.
Well, Matt, Joey Logano saying that his car is tight when he starts a run, and then eventually the car will come to him. They're going to change 4 tires for Logano. You see Kyle Busch there right ahead of him. 4 tires for the 22.
Well, they're stacking up again over there leaving pit road because the field is not by yet.
But Larry, what they did is NASCAR put a flagman about halfway down the back straightaway here. You can see him right there to keep that from happening.
Caution for the 11th time today. On the restart, a little contact in turn 1 between Clint Bowyer and Jimmy Johnson. This time Bowyer with the advantage. Johnson comes up the inside and pulls back to the lead. Carl Edwards is there. So is Brian Vickers. And here comes Joey Logano on the outside.
Boy, that 48, though, he gets such a launch up out of the corner. Better than anybody.
Boy, Joey Logano on that 22 car fighting up there with Brian Vickers in the 55, wanting to get to the bottom because there is a long line of drivers behind Brian Vickers.
Yep, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is coming. So is Kurt Busch, Casey Kane, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and more. The outside, no place to be at this moment.
Got a caution. I think there's might be some debris flying around down here in turn 1. I think I saw.
Part of somebody's rear bumper, no doubt.
Brad Keselowski was having a tough time getting down the straightaway that time. Remember, he was involved in a very early caution incident on pit road. There's that piece of debris. Now keep an eye on the 55 of Brian Vickers here.
Oh yeah, he's squeezing over right there. You saw the air off of the 99.
That might have been a little piece of tape or something. But there was something in yellow down there in the corner.
The way the hood flaps came flying open, not sure what that was.
It looks like somebody's rear quarter panel.
Oh, it's
rear
definitely,
quarter.
yeah, it's some of the fascia, front or rear. I'm not sure which. There it is.
There you go.
There's where it goes. Oh, you don't need that part anyway.
Let's go back and show that little bit of contact we talked about on the restart 1 lap prior. Johnson inside, Bowyer outside. Here was the green flag.
Jimmy's car's a little, it swings out. I mean, it's a little loose getting in the corner. Of course, Bowyer pins him down tight. Right there, you see Jimmy's car step out and the rear come out a little bit. They gave Bowyer a bit of an advantage going down the back.
But remember, Jimmy Johnson had been complaining about being loose in the corner, but Chad Knaus a little reluctant to help that it doesn't hurt the middle and off.
Yeah, well, do you see why, Larry? Because he got such a great launch off.
Then 1 lap after this, Jimmy Johnson retook the lead.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing on Fox is sponsored by KFC. So many ways to KFC. How do you KFC?
Under the 12th caution flag with 146 laps to go in Martinsville. Let's catch up with today's Toyota top performers. Led by Clint Bowyer, now 3rd. Brian Vickers right behind him. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. Tire wear has been an issue today. Jeff Hammond has some show and tell for us about what's been happening where the rubber meets the road. Here with 145 to go. Jeff?
Yeah, Mike, we're down here in the garage area. This is a brand new left rear tire, folks. You can see this is the depth gauge that everybody knows how much actual rubber is on this tire. This is a tire that just recently came off one of the race cars out there on the track, a little over 60 laps on it. You do not see those holes on this tire. They're wore all the way down to basically the thin part of the tread of this tire. This is one of the problems that the teams have been faced with today is the grip up off the corner. If you're a little bit loose, you wear this tire out by spinning it. If you got the right amount of grip, you can still wear it too easily or too hard just by using it. So tire management is going to be very important as we go through the rest of this day, because this racetrack is not taking rubber like it's done in the past.
Well, Hammond, I know where all your rubber is, buddy. It's up there against the wall off turn 2 and all the way around the racetrack. These cars have such a different setup than we've ever run here. California, what we're going to run to Texas next week, it's hard on the tires.
Well, Goodyear engineers indicate the track surface temperature must be 80 degrees or higher before the track will rubber up, and it's colder than that today.
Did you see that Goodyear sticker tire that Jeff Hammond had? It's going to become a valuable item because teams are allowed 11 sets of Goodyear tires for this 500-lap race. By my calculations, most teams only have 1 to 2 sets left.
Because you need them after 10 laps.
I know. Is there anything we can do? Does anybody have more sets than that? We need to plan if they do.
I think everybody's on equal keel here.
All right, well then let's outsmart them here. If we get a caution with 10 or 12 laps, maybe we can hang on to the lead lap long enough to have an extra set of tires. To be real smart, I don't really care about finishing the top 10. I want to win this thing.
Carl Edwards and Jimmy Fennig, who are taking the lead, or trying to right now, from Jimmy Johnson on this restart.
Watch that 48. He doesn't get in the corner maybe as good as a couple of them do, but when he gets to the center off, that car goes. Watch him open a gap right here on the 99. Away he goes.
Edwards drops in line. Brian Vickers trying for the outside. His teammate Clint Boyer down inside for third.
Yeah, no break for a teammate now. Too late in the race. And Joey Logano on that 22, he wants to stay hooked up to Clint Boyer in that 15, not let Vickers in the 55 down.
Yeah, that's bad news for Brian Vickers, because right behind Logano here is Kurt Busch, then Casey Kane, then Kyle Busch, or then Harvick, who drops it to the low side.
Mike, just real quick on the tires, when you're using a tire for a spring, you're going to wear the tires out, and that's what these guys are doing.
One way or the other, last week and this week.
Oh yeah, if you look at these race cars, they are on the ground. There's no give. If they gave, they'd be dragging the ground, and look how low they are.
Brian Vickers just stacked them up that last time through 1 and 2. He had his hands full and about had the whole field slowed down.
And it's just so frustrating, Larry, because you got a good car, but you can't get back in line. And you can't give up. You got to keep trying. What are you going to do?
And with this fairly new format of double file restarts, you don't have a choice where you restart. Half of you on the lead lap are going to start in that restart in that outside lane.
Just saw a car we hadn't talked about in a long time. Boys, we see Logano in the 22 all over Boyer in the 15.
Urgency.
Still 138 laps to go. Casey Kane against Boyer. Then it'll be Harvick. Steve?
Mike, you guys have talked about Casey Kane's comeback from that early pit road damage. He said his car is tight early, but if he gets a long run, he could be dangerous. He said the track comes to him.
Yes, Stephen, I look at Casey Kane in the 5 and Kevin Harvick in the 4. That's two drivers that were way at the back of the pack earlier in the race because of different issues.
Yeah, when you're a little tight in the middle, that means the car's pretty secure getting in, so he can drive in pretty hard. Also means it's pretty good getting off. You're just a little bit slow right through the middle of the corner, but you have good entry and good exit.
Casey Kane only has 3 top 5s here, but 2 of them came within the last 3 races at Martinsville. Kane did not practice or qualify well at all. Got caught up in that pit road skirmish very early in the race with Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch as Kane was attempting to enter his pit while Keselowski was trying to get back to the racetrack. But look at the rebound that he has made to run 5th right now as you watch him from Kevin Harvick.
The only guy that can really manage his car right now, his tires, his brakes, everything that's going on, is our leader. Jimmy Johnson has a nice little cushion, so he can manage. He doesn't have to mat the throttle every lap to get up off the corner. These guys back here trying to catch him are racing each other. They're using their stuff up.
And I wonder how many of them have the attitude of crew chief Jimmy Fennig, who just before that last restart told Carl Edwards, don't worry about strategy or a good finish. I want to win this thing.
Well, they have that win in the bank from Bristol, and they know absolutely you win a second race, that'll punch your ticket for the chase.
Logano got a bump from Kurt Busch down in turns 1 and 2. And Busch takes the bottom lane out of 3 and 4 and moves back into 3rd.
That's short track racing. Look, you give a guy a bump. You let him, hey, I'm here. I think you're holding me up a little bit. What you don't want to do is that next lick that he might give you. So a smart guy is going to say, okay, you're faster than I am. Still a few laps to go. I might give you a break right here.
And if you come off the corner and that other car is not fading in your mirror, you know that bump's coming.
You got it.
Well, if memory serves me right, not that many laps ago, Joey Logano did the same thing to Clint Bowyer in the 15 car.
Live by the bumper, lose by the bumper. Dale Earnhardt Jr. inside Casey Kane, teammates battling, Bowyer right behind them.
Boy, it's amazing to me, though. Cars are running really good. We just take Casey Kane, for instance. Running really good, gaining on the lead, running right up there in the top 4 or 5. All of a sudden, it's like he flipped a switch and he starts going backwards, and that is tire wear.
You know, a driver we've not talked about in a long time, our pole sitter, Kyle Busch, in that 18 car. His car was terrible the first half of this race, and now they're starting to make some gain with it. He's cracked the top 10.
I can hear Charles Barkley, can't you? Terrible. Things just terrible.
Terrible. Bunch of knuckleheads. Crack me up on some of those shows he does. He can't sing, though, I'll tell you that. Don't ever ask him to do karaoke.
Now, one reason that Kevin Harvick and Casey Kane have been able to get back to that top 10 is they've had more pit stops than anybody else. They've made 11 pit stops, Larry, while race leader Jimmy Johnson has been in for service 8 times.
In most of the trips that people's made to pit road was for 4 Goodyear tires. So that could be a story if we start having an outbreak of cautions. Going back to the conversation with Carl Edwards and Jimmy Finney.
126 laps to go.
You know what I like, though? We don't have it very often, but I like tire management. Not just on the track for the driver, but in the pits. Only got this many tires. We see it in other series nationwide and in the trucks. You got to manage your tires. How many you got and how many you use.
125 to go. Grab that remote and give it a good old NASCAR on Fox. Crank it up, will you? Jimmy Johnson works to get past Travis Kvapil, and his lead has shrunk. Carl Edwards is right there.
It's almost like Jimmy Johnson has a pace. He's running a pace. It's been right around a 20:02 to 20:10. Some of the other guys can be a little quicker than he is, but it seems like he lets them catch up. Might even let them pass, but he's got a good, smooth, quick pace.
Now, Ryan Truex, they just passed, is limping around the track. He went into the wall at turn 2. He's trying to drive it. Not sure how much damage he's done. Has he got a flat? No, looks like they're up.
I think he just had a lot of buildup on the tires.
He's going to stay on the racetrack.
That's what it was. It makes him feel like he has a flat tire, and he gets all that rubber marbles.
You have to get back down into racing groove where the grip is to get those rubber buildups off your tires. You feel like they're all flat for a little ways.
Well, Jimmy Johnson in that 48, our leader, he's getting into some real heavy traffic in front of him.
Patience, man. The guy's he's got the patience of Job. He just sits there. He doesn't get excited. If somebody wants to try to race him or get by him, doesn't seem to bother him right now. He just seems like he's got speed that he's sitting on.
However, so does Carl Edwards. And how about this for fourth place? Harvick inside Logano. And number 4 makes the pass for fourth.
I think that's a good indication the change this track has been through. Joey Logano on that 22, you're looking at him, it's not near as good now as he was in the beginning of this race.
But again, Mike, I watched the 48, I watched the 99. Carl Edwards is driving hard. He's driving down in the corner, using a lot of brake. Jimmy's rolling out the throttle, not using much brake.
Working through lap traffic, Alex Bowman trailing a fender there from previous damage.
You make passes here from off the corner to the middle of the straightaway. That's how you make passes. It doesn't really help you a lot to be able to drive into the corner real hard. Matter of fact, it usually gets you in trouble.
.113 laps to go, and for the 5th time in his career at Martinsville, Jimmy Johnson has led the most laps in the race.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR. Coca-Cola, open happiness. And by Sprint, get a Sprint family plan for as low as $25 per month each. Visit a Sprint store today. April 16th, the all-new season of The Ultimate Fighter begins as bitter rivals take over to coach the next generation of UFC fighters. The Ultimate Fighter. It's Team Edgar versus Team Penn. That's April 16th. You'll only see it on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. To find the channel, go to foxsports1.com today. With Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers, 103 laps to go here in Martinsville, Virginia, and Jimmy Johnson, who has led the most laps. Now, coming into this race, when he led the most laps 4 other times at Martinsville, he won all 4. You know that he's won here a total of 8 times. It is the 30th anniversary of Hendrick Motorsports. Of course, that set this franchise going years ago when they won here.
Yes, that's exactly right. It kept them going, and Jimmy Johnson is amazing today. He has this race under control. He's just running hard enough, I think, at this point, Chris, to save those tires and to hold off Carl Edwards.
He's led 9 different times. Now, Carl Edwards, who's never won here, but has been good on the short tracks, he joked about winning the grandfather clock. He said, yeah, because it would mean I'd win the race, but also people tease me about being late all the time, and I wouldn't be able to miss it.
Yeah, and he has got a really strong car. He's been steady all day. I think that's interesting. Guys like Kurt Busch, who got in the early scuff-up with Brad Keselowski, Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson. The track has changed tremendously, Chris, but yet these cars have been able to stay right on top of it. A big tip of the hat to that guy. Got in a scrum earlier and is still charging forward.
Yeah, his average short track finish last season, we're talking about Glenn Boyer, is in that 8.5 range. All other ranges over 12, so he has been very good on the short track, even though he hasn't had a victory here.
You know, everybody at Michael Waltrip Racing knows that if you get to Martinsville, Clint's going to figure out how to be fast, and he's doing just that. Harvick's team, they've had some troubles on pit road, pitted more than others, but yet he's still running inside the top 5. Very fast car on the track. Be interesting to see how they're able to survive a late pit stop if that comes into play.
And again, the lead changes are up, the cautions are up in this race. The Gibbs cars you thought would be a factor have not been much today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. moving up to 6th. Let's head back upstairs and rejoin Darrell Waltrip, Mike Joy, and Larry McReynolds.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about strategy, because we've been talking about long green runs. We've been talking about tires that are left in the pits for these drivers. All of these drivers pitted at lap 342 with 158 to go. Everyone will have to stop for fuel somewhere around lap 465 to 475 with roughly 25 to 35 laps to go. But we've went deep enough into this run. If we get a caution, you know you're going to have to pit for 4 tires. It'll get you to the end on fuel, but I think now that we've crossed the 400 lap mark, 2 sets of tires in the pits for most all drivers that are down there should put them in good shape.
Look at what happened to our leader here. The 48 car gets into the back of Justin Allgaier in the 51 going down into turn 1. And, buddy, it was quite a bit of damage. You'll notice, see the top of the grill there, just along the front of the hood, and caved that right in. And no damage or no harm, but look how much it caved that in.
Now that's above the bumper bars behind that fascia, and that upper grill is cosmetic. That's not where the engine takes its air in. So I don't know, Darrell, cosmetic damage?
Everybody here at the end of the day will have body damage. Trust me.
Okay. Sure hasn't slowed him down as Jimmie Johnson leads Carl Edwards by 0.6 of a second. Kurt Busch moving to the inside of Olympic Michael Annett. Busch third, 3 seconds back. Then Boyer, then Earnhardt, 5 seconds back with Harvick, Logano,
Mike,
Vickers, Allmendinger, Ambrose.
They always told me on a short track, if your right side's all scuffed up and torn up, you've been racing. If your left side's all scuffed and torn up, you've been in the way.
Denny Hamlin at the top of the day. You saw him there battling with Casey Kane. And now Kyle Larson in the midst of it, following Jeff Gordon in the 24. And what happened to Gordon today?
Well, and that's what I see right here. Jimmie Johnson in our 48. Look how close Carl Edwards in the 99 has pulled up to him, because Jeff Gordon that 24, not to also mention Matt Kenseth in that 20, they're fighting to stay on the lead lap here just in front of our leader, Jimmie Johnson.
And that was 2 cars we thought would contend for the win today. The yellow car of Kenseth and the 24 of Jeff Gordon. Now in the same straightaway as the race leader. Matt, how about the second place car?
Well, Mike, within the span of about 30 seconds back on lap 399, both Carl Edwards and Kurt Busch said their cars had gone to the free side on entry into the corner, and they're trying to hold on. Meanwhile, Jimmie Johnson, he hasn't said a word.
Been watching old Clint Boyer in this 15 car the last few laps. He's been one of the quickest cars.
Martin Truex, slow off turn number 2, and caution is out.
78 spun out over there. They had a little bit of trouble over there. I don't know who he got into it with, but 78 was the Martin Truex Jr. was the guy that ended up in the inside there on the dirt curb.
13th caution. Truex was 17th. As we get a caution flag with 90 laps to go. Here's a look at it. Watch for the black 78.
I think he gets, yeah, yikes.
He and Brad Keselowski disagreeing.
See, everybody
got a little Kirby there.
Yeah, everybody wanted to know if that was real grass. Well, that's real grass and that's real dirt, and those are real curves.
And Mike, not that many laps ago, I was talking about the strategy, but this caution here, all of these drivers, they have over 60 laps on their tires, so that's a no-brainer. You want 4 fresh tires. This now, though, puts them in the window where you don't have to worry about fuel after this stop.
It's going to be interesting, Larry, because I see a lot of cars that are pretty good on new tires that could challenge Jimmie Johnson. We see it on the restarts. Jimmy's pretty good after 3 or 4 or 5 laps. You don't want to get, if you're Jimmie Johnson, you don't want to get people in front of you, and you got to try to pass them back.
Well, this will be about an 85 lap race when we get back to green. Are you concerned about tires for that distance if we stay green?
Well, most drivers will have still one more set left. We have worked and worked trying to count sets of tires. I think Kevin Harvick in that 4, they're about to put their last set of stickers on. Now, they can go back and reuse some of the scuff tires.
Lead lap cars come to pit road. Here's Krista.
For Clint Boyer, still 3 sets of tires left for the team. He said the car is pretty good. I'm just trying to work my way through traffic. Brian Patty said any adjustments. Clint said I like it. Leave it as it is. Matt?
Tire volume not a problem for the 4 of the top 5 drivers in the running order. You see chassis adjustments across the board. Johnson said the car was loose later in the run, but good. The 99, Carl Edwards, track bar adjustment for him.
Oh, and he hits Matt Kenseth coming out. And Kenseth gets turned 180 degrees, and they'll service the car the way it sits.
I mean, what they're doing right there, it's perfectly legal. He's in the box, so they're going to go ahead and change the 4 tires. Thinking that maybe the 40 car of Landon Castle will be gone, so now he'll be able to drive out the wrong direction and flip around.
Spun it an exact 180, and they serviced it where it stopped.
Whoops. We get going.
Now here's Carl. Castle comes in. Carl comes out. And Kenseth is there. Locked up and parked perfectly.
You know what Carl was watching? Not the 20, obviously. The 48.
40. But you know what?
The 48 was up there getting ready. They were trying to race each other out of the pit.
But give a call to Landon Castle, Darrell. He's had a great race today and was up and into the top 20 when that caution flag came out. Nice job by that young man from Iowa. He's had some tough luck this season, but he's had a really strong run today.
Yeah, running 22nd right now, looks like.
But Carl Edwards has had tough luck on pit road. That's the second time he's had contact during pit stops with that 99 car.
Well, because of where he's pitted, Larry, he is getting in his pit box faster than anybody I watched. And he's getting out of his pit box pretty fast, too.
$85 laps to go in Martinsville, and next week, a whole different experience.
Next week, NASCAR heads down south to the Lone Star State. Everything is bigger in Texas, including the speed, the crashes, and the celebration.
Greg Biffle wins.
That's a pretty nice night's work. I'm going for my third win at Texas Motor Speedway, and I'm doing it right here on Fox.
Next week, NASCAR on Fox in the Lone Star State. Don't forget Big Hoss, the world's biggest big screen TV. Yes, bigger than the one at Charlotte or anywhere else. It was unveiled earlier this month. It'll be set up on the backstretch and ready to go. Last 10 spring races here had as many cautions as we have right now with 85 to go.
Yeah, again, we always look at the trends, and that's been the average number, and that's the last 10 spring races. The most in those 10 races, 18 back in 2008.
You know, we found a way to have fun yesterday in the rain. My son Scott and I drove 45 minutes east of here to Virginia International Raceway in Darrell. They were running the chump cars around the road course, old kind of worn out sports cars and sedans, sliding around, sliding off in the rain. You know who was out there running? The Labonte boys with Kenny Schrader.
My man Schrader, all right.
They had a blast. That's a beautiful race course.
Yep.
We had a fun time.
Sounds like they ought to have any cars over there.
Any cars?
Any cars, yeah.
Green flag, 83 laps to go. Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Chevy versus Ford, battling into the corner. Then Boyers Toyota and Earnhardt Chevrolet. Then Kurt Busch and Brian Vickers.
Boy, did you see what Carl did right there? Really, really smart. Checked up in the middle of the straightaway to get to the inside while he had a chance.
But Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car, he got a great run off turn 4. I don't think he's going to quite clear Carl this time.
If he doesn't, he's in big trouble.
Because the freight train is forming, and I don't mean out on the southern tracks out past the backstretch, but right here, 99, 15, 41, 55, 22, and the whole rest of the field on that inside.
It's just so tempting to go out there and try to make that big move, but boy, it just doesn't work out very often.
Yeah, Marcus Ambrose in the 9, he's out there trying to accomplish the same thing to no avail.
You can hang on new tires for a while.
Earnhardt right this minute, not gaining on Carl Edwards.
Boy, right there, he wanted to squeeze in front of Clint Bowyer, but he knew better of it. And there goes Carl, and now Clint, and then here they all come.
Yeah, Ambrose in the 9 did find a spot to slide down in behind Kevin Harvick in that 4 car. Yeah, it's like Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. He just loses a little bit of ground each lap to that inside line.
Yeah, and Brian Vickers in that 55. He's trying desperately not to leave a gap for Junior to get in, but he squeezes in. Pretty good shape right there.
So Earnhardt settles in 5th. And as we pointed out earlier, on any restart, half the lead lap cars are going to have to start on that outside lane. It's a matter of who can they pass and how quick they can get to the inside.
There's just so many things about this track that are huge advantages. That #1 pit stall, having that, being able to restart on the inside. Everything has to do with being on the inside.
Jimmy Johnson's in such a great position right now. He has an 1/8 of a second lead. He doesn't have to charge the corner. He doesn't have to fight anybody off, because look at this battle behind him. Kurt Busch inside of Bowyer, looking for 3rd place, and he'll probably get it right here.
Yeah, the last time off turn 2, Kurt Busch in that 41 just muscled his way by Bowyer in the 15.
Yeah, and remember, a couple of years ago up here when Hendrick was going for their 200th win, they were inside of 10 laps running 1, 2, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Jr. was running 4th. and they didn't win the race. Big heartbreaker for Rick.
No, last restart, they crashed together.
Boyer took them down into turn one there, got 3 wide, and they all spun out.
And Ryan Newman came from about 5th to win it.
Yeah, and Allmendinger finished 2nd.
That's right. All right, now it's Kevin Harvick to the inside of Vickers, then Ambrose, and then Almirola. Both the Petty cars have had a strong run here today, and we know that whole team and family racing with such heavy hearts after Linda Petty's passing early in this week. Richard was slated to be the Grand Marshal. He's not at the track this weekend, understandably. But his 2 drivers are giving a very good account of themselves.
They have had a great day. I'm telling you, Marcus is 9th right now, and Almirola is right there in 9th. Good job, boys.
Kurt Busch, the man who said we're done after an early crash on pit road with Brad Keselowski. You see the damage on the left side of his car from that, and he has fought his way back, and now he's 0.8 of a second off the lead as Boyer dives inside on the first Ford in the race, that of Carl Edwards.
It's just like Jimmy Johnson's been the rabbit all day long. They get up there, they try to get after him, but they just can't quite put the pressure on him.
You know, when I look at Kurt Busch, that 41 cars, we're looking at Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88, just slid up the racetrack right there. Joey Logano takes that 5th spot away from him.
I know it doesn't make a lot of difference here, but the sun is back out again, and that's probably helping these cars a little bit, actually, tire wear.
Here's Denny Hamlin to the inside of Brian Vickers. In pre-race, Hamlin explained it was an eye injury that kept him out of the race at California. Trackside doctors were not able to diagnosed that he had a piece of metal in his eye and thought he was having complications from a January sinus infection that may have flared up again. So midweek, Hamlin had the piece of metal removed. It had actually started to rust and infect, and cleared to race this weekend. Thrilled to be back behind the wheel and from the front row. Thought he had a shot to win this, and it's not over yet with Hamlin in 11th place.
And just think, we've run 432 laps, and we're still looking all over the top of each other. That's one thing about this little short track. You never really have room to rest. You're always either racing somebody or somebody's bamming you in the back end trying to get by you.
And I think that's what's going on with those 3 drivers right there. Kyle Busch in the 18, Gordon in the 24, Kenseth in the 20. They're wrestling just to try to get to the top 15. That's 3 drivers we thought would be contending for the win.
And instead they're contending for 16th as Casey Kane bounces off the wall and continues.
And not long ago we were talking about what a great recovery for the 5 car. He gets a little up, gets a little high off that corner. Not a hard lick, but enough to do some damage.
Now Hamlin's caught on the outside, and he's going to back up a total of 4 positions. One of those to his teammate Kyle Busch on the inside, and now Jeff Gordon.
And now Larry, the conveyor belt is moving.
They have friends coming their way.
They're coming.
Matt Kenseth, Brian Newman, and more. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson under pressure from Kurt Busch. Busch does not have a top 10 at Martinsville since he left Jack Roush, and that was 2005. Matt?
Mike, a lot of different philosophies on what makes a good spotter. For Kurt Busch, it's having another driver up on the roof, and that's Rick Corelli, the former Truck Series driver. He was telling him that Johnson will give up the entry with his 48 machine, but he will really pull you on exit. So watch his technique to see if you can make a move on him.
Yeah, Matt, that's been the way Jimmy Johnson has run this race all day. He's a little free getting in. I notice the back steps out every now and then, but when he gets it turned, he puts the power down straight up off that corner, and he gaps everybody that gets up close to him.
63 laps to go. Joey Logano underneath Carl Edwards for 4th, and the sun has come back out. Will this change much?
Well, something has happened to Carl Edwards in that 99 because he continues to lose more and more ground here.
62 laps to go here at Martinsville Speedway. Jimmy Johnson in front by 0.4 of a second. Jimmy Johnson's Lowe's Chevrolet continues to show the way with 55 laps to go, but now it is Clint Boyer in hot pursuit. He's the new 2nd place car, passing Kurt Busch, and right behind Johnson as they get into some race traffic here. They have a gap of a couple of lapped cars separating them now from Kurt Busch and Joey Logano.
Well, remember now, we've seen Bowyer get up here and put pressure on Jimmie Johnson earlier in a run some time ago. Doesn't surprise me to see him there, but then all of a sudden it's like something happens to his car and he starts falling back. Let's see if he can hang on a little bit better this time.
And that would be the question, Darrell. With 54 laps to go, can Bowyer conserve enough of his car to challenge Johnson when it's going to matter?
I hate to keep saying this, but it's almost like Jimmy lets them catch up. And then when they get right up there, like he knows they had to run hard to catch him, and then he'll pull away a little bit.
Krista?
Well, Mike, to answer that question about conserving the car, really it's all Clint can do is control what he can do. The long runs is where he's been the best. He's just trying to save the tires. He knows Johnson may play a little cat and mouse with him, and he's going to do the best he can. And remember, he's had a couple of these Martinsville wins get away from him. He's hungry.
Oh, absolutely. Since he joined Michael Waltrip Racing in 2012, no driver in the Sprint Cup Series has scored more points on the 3 short tracks than number 15.
Whoa, Johnson slipped there.
Oh, he did. He got in. His car's been a little free right there, Larry, and it got a little loose with him. I don't think he'll be okay, though.
Bowyer to the lead.
That's the first slip in 450 laps I've seen the man make.
And Bowyer in that 15 was right there to take advantage of it.
He was ready to pounce.
And now Bowyer's trying to get away. But that won't be easy because there's a knot of 5 cars, lap cars, just ahead.
Yeah, and the later we get in this race, these lap-down drivers, they're not going to just roll over by no means.
Well, and the later we get, the longer we go into these runs, it's who's managed their tires, who's taking the best care of their tires.
Probably good reason to call that our 5-hour energy big move of the race. Looking back from Jimmie Johnson, the car takes a little slide, and Bowyer pounces and takes the lead.
Bowyer say, okay, let's play. You played a game with me. Let me play one with you. Come on up here. See if you can catch me.
And you know how bad Clint Bowyer wants to get to victory lane. Finished second in the points in 2012. Went winless last year in 2013.
Yep. Can you imagine him waking up in the morning hugging a grandfather clock?
With the drive shaft.
And a drive shaft.
2 lead changes away from the record here, as Bowyer's gone to the front, and now resource management becomes the question for that number 15 with 46 laps to go.
And remember, with pitting with 87 laps to go, which when all these drivers were on pit road, as far as fuel here with 46 laps to go, we're good to go.
He looks pretty relaxed, doesn't he, boys? He's not fighting that wheel, easing her down in there. Looks pretty smooth.
And not much traffic ahead. For about the next straightaway, he's only got a couple of cars to deal with.
No, but his buddy behind him, Jimmie Johnson, he's got a little hit. He's going to heat up behind him here pretty quick. See that 41, 22?
Tires. We're clear by half straightaway.
They're closing.
Back at third place, Kurt Busch, Joey Logano. And you know who's going to spoil this party is Danica Patrick in the 10, because she was just on pit road for fresh tires.
Yeah, right now she's 34th, 6 laps down.
She was thinking about it right there, but knew better of it. And she's still got a little faster car than they do with those fresh tires. Kind of a disappointing day for her, I know. Qualified 10th, thought this was one of her best tracks. Had a great run here last year, but just hadn't worked out today.
Yeah, that run last year was after starting at the rear with an engine change, spinning out, and at one point being 2 laps down.
Oh, Carl goes for a slide in 2. And around he goes. No contact.
We do have caution.
Here, inside.
Yellow is out. Field frozen as of the last scoring loop they crossed. And 5th place, Carl Edwards brings out the 14th caution flag of the day at lap 459.
All right, boys, this is going to be who wins the race. Who gets off of pit road first? Restart on the inside. That's going to be the clue to who can win this thing.
I don't know, Darrell, was he transitioning back to the gas and the car just came around, or was it just right in the middle of the corner?
I think we're right in that window where tire wear is a big deal, and I think he just didn't have the grip.
Yeah, no question. Pit road's going to be busy for full fresh tires. All of these drivers over 40 laps on their tires with roughly probably 35 to go when we go back racing.
You run real hard. You try to make up all the time you can. You see, I think what happened there, he got in a little hot, and he thought he was going to hit the 22 of Joey Logano in the rear, and he got on the brakes and got off the gas, and she locked up and went around. But the right rear tires got to be pretty worn on all these cars.
A caution flag Clint Bowyer probably did not want to see.
I think you're right.
This could be the money stop for these drivers in their pit crews. We've seen a lot of contact on pit road today, too.
And, oh, by the way, it's going to be the money stop, but don't mess it up by speeding on pit road.
40 laps to go. Pit road is open. Krista.
And down here in the pits, you can feel the urgency and the tension here in the 15 stall. Clint Bowyer for the third stop in a row, calling for no changes. Matt?
Impressive stops all day by the 48 guys. They're up on the wall waiting for Jimmie Johnson to hit his box. The car was loose on entry and loose on exit the last 20-25 laps of that run. Meanwhile, Kurt Busch in the 41, he said he'd lost his mojo. The car had gone both loose and tight. Adjustments for both the 41 and 48, Steve.
Matt, Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano pitting nose to tail. Logano said, I wouldn't change much. Kevin Harvick, meanwhile, said, hey, it wasn't as good as it was on the last run. I want to put it back the way it was. So they'll make an air pressure adjustment for Kevin Harvick. Nose to tail, Logano leads first.
And coming off pit road, coming out of his stall, Carl Edwards clipped Dale Earnhardt Jr.
But the 15 car, here's the problem. The 15 car, I was watching him, he had a problem on the right rear. They couldn't get the right rear tire off. That really hurt his stop. You'll see how long this takes, and it's back on the right rear. The right rear tire changer either he didn't get all 5 lug nuts off or something happened.
Yeah, you see the right front changer. He's already taken the lugs off the left front, and the rear changer just getting to the left rear.
One of the worst things, and Ham and I have talked about this for years, when you put the pressure on the crew, sometimes that's when they screw up. When you say, boys, this is it. Smooth stop, no mistakes.
What you've been doing all day.
That pressure.
Now here's the one collision there. Marcus Ambrose into Dale Earnhardt Jr., who had also been clipped by Carl Edwards coming out of his pit. It's a tight pit road here.
Yeah, I was just lightly and slightly. No big deal. Just a little rub. Closing walls and ticking clocks.
Crumpling that can.
Confusion never
David
stops.
Gilliland will get one of his 2 laps back. He'll be the free pass car.
I mean, you see right there, that's the difference between Clint Bowyer's number 15 team and Jimmie Johnson's number 48. And you can see almost a 4 seconds difference on the total right there.
Yep.
In a sport like ours, some numbers are more important than pit stop times. You can learn more about NASCAR's sustainable initiatives at NASCAR.com/green.
There you come in leading the race. You go out running 10. With 35 laps to go.
On the outside on the restart, oh, by the way.
So starting on the inside will be Jimmie Johnson, Kurt Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Marcus Ambrose, Kevin Harvick, and Matt Kenseth. Starting on the outside will be Joey Logano, Eric Almirola, Brian Vickers, Carl Edwards, Clint Bowyer.
Yep. That was the money stop.
Yes. And we will restart again with 25 lead lap cars. David Gilliland was 2 laps down and got the free pass, putting him 1 lap back.
Eric Almirola got that top 5 finish a couple of weeks ago at Bristol, and here he is sitting in 4th place in this 43 car.
I tell you, ever since Trent Owens came over and started working on this car with Almirola, they have had some really great runs.
I know we're going to be watching Jimmie Johnson, but keep an eye on Kurt Busch in that 41 car, trying to end an 83 race winless streak.
Ready for the restart. It'll come with 35 laps to go. Jimmie Johnson, Joey Logano. 2 Chevys on the inside, 2 Fords on the outside. Logano's going for it.
Oh, he packed it in there, locked it up a little bit.
He's got a shot.
He's trying to hang, but here comes Kurt looking down on the inside on Jimmie Johnson.
Even into the corner. And Johnson squirreled it just a bit as Logano sent it in hard. Johnson will exit 4 with the lead. Logano's not done.
Yeah. Well, he squirreled it a little bit because the 41 was hammering him going down into the corner.
And there's Kurt Busch in that 41. He is not going to let Joey Logano down. Logano will have to fall behind the 41 now.
Logano got a good break right there, was able to get in behind Kurt.
Almirola behind him, fell in line in fourth, then Earnhardt, then Ambrose, and here's Vickers on the outside for the umpteenth time today in that 55, this time fighting with Carl Edwards for a spot. Kevin Harvick trying to capitalize. You're riding with Harvick on the inside. Matt Kenseth behind him.
That time by, the guy that went to pits leading, Clint Boyer in the 15, went by in 13th position.
Because he was stuck on the outside on that restart.
Now, I know Jimmie Johnson's had a lot of guys behind him today that have kind of hounded him on and off. But that guy in that 41 car, I know how bad he wants to win. I would not take my competition for granted here, I can tell you that.
Petty cars exchanged positions. Almirola slid up the track in turn 1 in the 43. That allowed Ambrose to get by. Remember Carl Edwards, who spun from 5th to bring out a caution. Edwards back up to 7th. And from contact on the left rear, a little tire rub for Dale Jr.
But that is amazing. Carl Edwards in that 99 car sitting there in the 7th spot, and he's the one that brought that last caution out.
Larry, Jimmie Johnson's got his hands full right now. That 41 car, he's as good as Johnson right now. I don't know how long he can hang long enough to get by, looks like.
I believe it's going to be right here.
Kurt Busch to the inside.
I mean, that's a nice move, nice and clean. That 41 is going somewhere, boys.
When Gene Haas hired Kurt Busch, he said, my company name has never been to victory lane on the hood of the car. I want to change that. "21 laps to go." They're slipping and sliding all around Martinsville Speedway, and Kurt Busch is your race leader. Jimmie Johnson, you see how close they are from Johnson's onboard camera, keeping close tabs on the leader. And here's our sprint 20 to go. Traffic moves aside. That was Michael McDowell. Kurt Busch got in a skirmish on pit road early and said on the radio, we're done. Well, if done means we're going to race our butts off and get to the lead, that's what's happened for Kurt Busch.
Right, you see Jimmie Johnson, the car is right in his wheelhouse right now. After about 20, 30 laps, he's been better than everybody else. He's hounding Kurt Busch right now. What Jimmie Johnson's got to be careful of, you don't want to rough up Kurt Busch because he will retaliate if you do.
Waiting to pounce side by side, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Joey Logano. Earnhardt had a chance there in traffic. So the lead on the left, the third place battle on the right. We're far from over here at Martinsville.
He nerfed him a little bit right there, and I don't know how Kurt's going to take to that. Let's see what kind of retaliation he gets. Johnson back to the lead. He's been very patient. He let Kurt lead a little bit, uses that 42 car as a pick. Kurt repays the favor with a little bump.
And Johnson's back to the lead.
Too little, too late.
And one thing I do want to add with our sprint 20 to go, if you look at the average lap of the last caution in this race, the last 10 spring races, it comes within 25 to go. And oh, by the way, in the last 4 spring races, we've had 2 green, white checkers.
I just think if I'm Jimmie Johnson, I'd like to get a little gap between me and that 41 car, because if you leave the door open, Kurt's going to come pouncing back through.
Kurt Busch has said he hates losing to Jimmie Johnson more than anybody else. The last time he won a race was at Dover. Who'd he beat? Jimmie Johnson. That's the 32nd lead change of the day. That is a record.
You know, I don't doubt that Kurt said that, but there's about 35 other guys out there that say the same thing every week.
Kurt makes a lunge at him every time, right through the middle of the corner.
And that's where it kind of worries me, because if Jimmie slips a little bit or doesn't get back in the gas quite quick enough, Kurt's going to ram into him. Looking here, looking here. This is close.
Lap car up high, Quapple, single file. Off turn number 4, no change. But all of this monkey motion is allowing the 3rd and 4th place cars to catch the leaders.
No kidding. It's going to get tight up here in the front. But I tell you, we've seen Jimmie Johnson hold off his teammates. We've seen Jimmie Johnson hold off everybody to win at this track.
Right in front of the leaders. Lap cars go side by side. This will stack everything up.
Boy, Kurt Busch got a pretty good run.
Boy, he cut him some. That was smart on Kurt's part. He almost had a run right there, but he backed off. I think Kurt's feeling pretty racy and pretty confident right here that he's got a better car.
He's in there.
Got that fender there. He's there.
Johnson has to give way. And Kurt Busch has the inside as they cross the line with 11 to go.
I think about Jimmy, let him go and get back down in behind him right here. Try to do the crossover move if he can.
At the bumper here. Watch the crossover. 10 to go when you get here. 10 to go.
Dale Jr. has cleared Joey Logano and set sight for the leaders. Logano has to deal with Marcus Ambrose.
Jr. has got a great race car, too.
There you see it. 83 races, October of 2011, since Kurt Busch went to victory lane driving for Roger Penske when he drove the 22 car.
And Larry, look, he's able to just put a little room between him and Jimmie Johnson. All he needs is a little breathing room so he can focus on hitting his lines. Hit your marks.
What a comeback for Kurt Busch, whether he wins this race or not. Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to close, but now Joey Logano's against his back bumper.
And guess who's against his back bumper?
Marcus Ambrose.
Marcus.
You think about Kurt Busch also in that 41 car. The first 4 races this year, he did not even have a top 20 finish. Got that top 5 last week at Auto Club Speedway.
And I asked Rick Hendrick about alliances. I said, do you think that's good for the sport? I said, look what you've done for Tony Stewart. They've won championships. They've won races. You're getting pretty close here to getting outrun by a car that has your engine and all your technology in it.
7 laps to go, and it's 2 car lengths, which here could be 2 miles.
I think the thing, if they get in a little traffic up here, it might help Jimmie Johnson. Otherwise, I believe Kurt's got the better of him right now. He's got a little bit better car.
And Darrell, I think they will catch some traffic here before this thing ends, coming to 6 to go.
Just depends on how it plays out up here. Could work in Jimmy's favor. Well, Kurt got a little loose getting into 1 that time. Overdrove the corner of Scotia.
But he still got off the corner pretty good right there.
All these cars are free in. A lot of them are free in.
Kurt and Jimmy have finished 1, 2, 6 times. 4 wins for Johnson, 2 wins for Busch.
You're looking at 2 totally different drivers. Kurt Busch, aggressive. He'll do anything to win. Jimmie Johnson, calculating, sitting here trying to figure out, what have I got to do to get by this cat?
Traffic ahead, double wide. Travis Kvapil up high. Reed Sorensen down low. That may resolve itself before the leaders get there, and it does. 4 to go.
I'll tell you, this is going to be, well, they get by the 36 now. That's okay. No problem there. That may be just enough.
There'll still be slow cars ahead because Stremme is in the top lane. And if Cole Witt and Bowman get to him, that could clog things up. Passing Flag's getting a workout here.
And Johnson is trying so hard. Where that car's been solid all day up off the corner, she's doing a little waltz with him now. He's in the gas hard trying to catch him.
Yeah, Darrell, the last time off turn 4, he got real loose and gave up a couple of car lengths.
Coming to 2 to go. Stremme up high and out of the way. Not a factor, thank goodness. Busch and Johnson now 2.5 car lengths apart, but still not free of race traffic.
No, but everybody's doing a great job of getting out of their way. They see Kurt coming. They're giving him the room.
White flag in the air for Kurt Busch. Jimmy is 2 car lengths back.
How many races is this?
6.
How many winners is this?
It's going to be 6, it looks like.
Back straightaway, final time. Cole Witt ahead. Michael Annett, Jamie McMurray. Johnson is to the back bumper of Kurt Busch. But they power off turn number 4, and the Outlaw wins the battle at Martinsville.
And Stuart Haas. Really, Gene Haas.
I can't believe it. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Awesome stuff. I never would have thought after 2 years that have been here.
You just think about the 2 new teams at Stuart Haas. The 4 who dominated Phoenix. today, the 41. 2 new teams, 2 new winners.
And for the first time ever, after having race teams that go back more than a decade, beginning, I think, with the number 0 and Jack Sprague, Gene Haas will see his company's name, Haas Automation, roll into victory lane for the very first time in a Sprint Cup Series race.
I think this is so valuable for Kurt Busch because of the meltdown he had a little bit there early in the race. Not a meltdown, just kind of a our day's over kind of attitude. This ought to teach him you'd never give up.
And rookie crew chief Daniel Knos, 6th race with Kurt Busch. He's going to victory lane.
He's a winner.
Hey, how about a handshake from the boss?
Hello, boss.
Co-owner of Stewart Haas Racing, Tony Stewart.
Smoke came home 17th.
And you know what? When Gene Haas hired Kurt Busch, I'm not sure Tony Stewart was keen on, he wasn't keen on going to a 4th team for 2014.
Danica up congratulating Kurt. Boys, that is a huge, huge win for that company.
And for Kurt Busch, who got knocked down off the top rung of the sport, fought his way back, worked his way back, come back complete.
There's Gene Haas right here. There he is with the headset on. He could not be happier. He took a gamble. He took a chance. And it paid off. I asked Rick, I said, when these guys burn these motors down, blow them up after they've won a race, do you get upset? He said, hey, they won the race. I don't care.
Jimmie Johnson had won 12 times since Kurt Busch's last Sprint Cup victory. But Kurt Busch has become the 6th different winner in a 6-race season where winning means everything.
Kurt Busch, the 2004 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion, gets a victory as we welcome you to the Sprint Post-Race Show from Martinsville, Virginia. You talk about your family plan there, a little family Stewart Haas handshake from owner-driver Tony Stewart with Kurt Busch ending the string of 83 races without a win. Remember, it was lap 44 when he had problems in the pits with Keselowski and Kasey Kahne. Thought his day might be done. Fought back and held off Jimmie Johnson, who just doesn't lose when he leads the most laps in a race. But it's Kurt Busch's day here in Virginia. And down there for the celebration is Chris Devoda.
The victory pose on top of the car. Now, if that's not an outlaw move, I don't know what is. To say Kurt Busch is excited about his 25th career win would be an understatement. Not just because, as he gets a kiss from his girlfriend, Patricia. To say you would be excited would be an understatement, because not only is this your 25th career win, but the way you won, holding off Jimmie Johnson at Martinsville.
I didn't know if we'd be able to do it, you know. The 48 car is king here, him or the 24. And this is that old theory, can't beat him, join him. And I have a Hendrick chassis prepared by Stewart Haas Racing, Hendrick motor, thanks to those guys at Chevrolet. I've been on this journey for a while, and every time you come to Martinsville, you just kind of draw a line through it. Like, there's no way I'll be able to challenge those Hendrick guys or be up in that top 10. This Stewart Haas team gave me a car to do it. Now I know what I need to do on Saturdays. Don't even practice. Just show up and race on Sunday. That way I won't dial out the car. But thanks to Monster Energy, these guys have been wonderful the last 2 years. We had great associates with Mobil 1, Atlas Copco. It's just it's a dream come true to have Gene Haas call you and tell you that he wants you to drive. He wants to go for trophies and wins. And it's just an unbelievable feeling to deliver for Haas Automation. So thanks to all the Haas CNC employees.
Kurt, let's go back to the beginning of the race. You had the incident with Brad Keselowski. At that point, you said on the radio, we're done. If this is done, this is pretty good. Did that fuel the fire?
We won. We're not worried about any of that nonsense right now. We are a winner. We are not guaranteed in Chase, but we got to win, and we're moving forward. So thanks a lot to everybody on this team. I just can't thank them enough, and we'll have State Water Heaters with us on the car later on this year, but it's all about Haas Automation.
All right. Thanks, Kurt. Congratulations. Wow, what a win. Matt Yoakum?
What a dominating car for Jimmie Johnson and the 48 team. You retook the lead with 28 to go, and then did the car start to fall off when he got you with 17 to go?
I'd been loose in the final third of the race and was hanging on there, and And when he got back by me, I was hopeful that he would wear his stuff out and I could get back by him. And then I did, and then I couldn't hold him off. I just started to get looser and looser. So that's all I had, man. I ran the rear tires off the car. I flipped every switch and knob I could in there to get front brake and turn fans off to try to help bring my balance back. But just a little too loose there to get the win. You know, I hate it. We had a very fast race car. I want to thank Lowe's and Chevrolet for all their support, and I wish we could have got this win for Rick's 30th, I guess, anniversary here, but came up a little short.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
You wonder what Jimmy Johnson thinks of sharing those Hendrick Motorsport engines with the guy from Stewart-Haas who beat him. Kurt Busch gets the grandfather clock. More on his comeback story when we come back.
How do you find a prodigy?